Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so shout out to everyone who is in the building early. If you guys can hear me okay, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, please give me a thumbs down or an angry face, and we are going to get into it. All right, shout out to DeAndre. What's good with it, bro? We got Miss Nisi in the building. We got Flowers in the house. We got Roots Trackers in the building. We got Carlton Way in the house, and we got DC Precise. All right, so shout out to each and every one. We got Flowers up in here. Shout out to Flowers. Good to see each and every one of you. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is a bunch of things, but the main thing that we're going to talk about is the migrant crisis is now hitting the suburbs, and we got some interesting information about quote-unquote African migrants. All right, so we are going to talk about this stuff. Shout out to Vega and shout out to Dora Malahi. What's good with it? Good to see you guys. All right, so the first thing that we're going to check out is the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Now, here's my question. Shout out to Shamika Gray. What's good with it, Shamika? How many people know what's going on at the Roosevelt in New York? If you guys know what's up with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys do not know what's up, then give me a thumbs down. As you guys can see, this video here is titled, "We're Out of Room." Uh-oh. What that means is that we are now entering the stages of breakdown of sustainability as it pertains to the migrant crisis, which is something that we had discussed would occur. This is something that we said would be inevitable. As a result, shout out to my man Ulaw. What's good with it, bro? As a result of this insustainability, what we now have is we have alternative means occurring. We have cities shipping migrants elsewhere. We also have migrants showing up in the suburbs. So we're going to get into it.
Well, it's been nearly 8 months since Midtown's Roosevelt Hotel, which had closed in 2020, was reopened by the city as an asylum seeker arrival center. Since then, thousands of migrants have passed through the doors. Recently, I got a chance to go inside the facility, a very rare chance. And then I sat down with Mayor Adams and other officials about how the city is grappling with this unprecedented crisis.
Shout out to DC Precise and shout out to Denise Scales for throwing the no sign in there, because that's right. No. More sustainability. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to T-Lo Brown. What's good with it, bro?
Welcome to New York City Arrival Center. All asylum seekers coming into New York City each day will come through that same doorway there.
And how many people have you processed so far since it began in 2021?
At the New York City Arrival Center here, we've registered more than 70,000 asylum seekers since.
Now, look at now. I want y'all to pay very close attention to the scene. First and foremost, this is a nice hotel. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is nice. You know what I'm saying? Second of all, do y'all see that they got military on the ground? They got the actual military on the ground. Now, what's up with that? Why is the military on the scene?
We opened this site in May of this past year.
It doesn't seem that busy today. Is this what it normally looks like, or do you usually have a lot more people sitting in that waiting room?
Yeah, the Arrival Center gets busier as the day goes on.
The Roosevelt Hotel has become a symbol, and depending on who you talk to, it's debatable whether it's a hopeful symbol. Outside, mopeds and motorcycles line the sidewalk, the unspoken side hustle of working food deliveries while awaiting shelter. Dr. Ted Long is helping with the processing of
the unspoken hustle of processing food deliveries while waiting for quote-unquote work permits. Now, here goes my question. This quote-unquote unspoken hustle of food delivery, is that legal or is that illegal? Let me know.
Migrants, and he gave me a rare tour inside the hotel.
So how often, when you give these migrants a choice to go to somewhere else, do they take you up on that offer?
1 out of every 4 that enters that front door will leave within 24 hours because with our help, we've enabled them to complete their journey, whether that's finding and staying with friends and family in New York City or finding and staying with friends and family in another city across the country. Will help them to get there. So this is our cafeteria. We had this initial issue of how do we create a meal that would be what somebody would want if you're coming from Venezuela, Senegal, or the Ukraine.
That's what we've heard. Sometimes they don't like the food that you're serving.
So I want you guys to pay very close attention to how they're catering to the people. They're actually preparing these people culture-specific meals at this Roosevelt Hotel. Now, again, if you ask me, this Roosevelt Hotel, from what I see, this looks pretty nice. That either tells you one or two things. That tells you that I don't know what nice is, or that tells you the kind of trashy hotels that I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what it tells you, no hotel that I've ever been to has adjusted their menu around me. They've never said, we'll get you some grits and okra and shrimp together for breakfast. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, that's what you like. You know what I'm saying? Nah, they didn't do that. They don't do that. If we got hard donuts and brick cheese danishes on the continental breakfast at the hotel, and some cantaloupe that's hard because it's not ripe yet, that's just what you're eating this morning, unless you got some money to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting how this works. Yeah, Carlton, facts. They're picky eaters. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Torian. What's good with it, bro?
They're not accustomed to it.
Exactly. So we did a survey of everybody. Everybody disliked the same meal, and the most popular meal.
Which was that? What's the least liked? The least liked and the most liked.
The least liked was roast beef. Nobody likes roast beef. And most liked genre of food.
They up there at the Roosevelt turning down roast beef. And I guarantee you, look at that hotel. I guarantee you they got a sous chef or somebody from culinary school that actually knows how to cook decent. I wouldn't assume that that's the best food, but I wouldn't assume that it's the worst either. It's really kind of hard to mess up roast beef. It probably has some gravy on it. You know what I'm saying? Probably got a little bit of gravy on it. Probably serve it with some potatoes or some carrots. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to eat that, though. Yeah, shout out to DeAndre. If the eggs are runny, it's too damn bad. Shout out to Patricia Slade, B1.
Pizza.
Italian food. Very good.
That's perfect. We win.
Manuel Castro, the commissioner of the city's immigrant affairs, is trying to acclimate the migrants, but at the same time, he's frustrated too.
Do you see it getting any quieter? Are people dissipating? Are they still coming to our city?
Look, we've said this time and time again, this is not sustainable. We had to do this because it's an emergency. A lot of people are coming.
Did you hear what he said? Now you guys see what they're saying, what we've been saying from the get-go. A lot more often. A lot more often. Shout out to the DC Precise and shout out to Miss Nisi. They said it again. He just said it. This is unsustainable. Okay, so what are we going to do then? Because if things are unsustainable as they are at this current point, then what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? Because if it's unsustainable, then what that means is that at the current situation with the current resources available, this cannot continue, or it will cause whatever is in place to shut down, which means that they're going to have to divert some of this workload. They're going to have to divert some of this crisis load elsewhere. Shout out to AB Promotions. And that's interesting. Carlton said they getting off the same white buses BLM and Proud Boys was getting off of in 2020. Ain't that the truth? That's the truth.
Coming to our city?
Look, we've said this time and time again, this is not sustainable. We had to do this because it's an emergency. I mean, a lot of people are coming in that have no idea what's going on. They were just giving a bus ticket to come here or a plane ticket to come here, and then they don't know where else to go.
You talk about that you came here as a young child, your family migrated here. What was the difference from?
Now, again, we got to ask these questions, right? Because they'll just put something out there and then that's just it. They just put it out there and then we don't have any more reference on it. We don't have any more background information on it. And the question just kind of dies. Now, what this individual said was that they don't know where to go and they don't have anywhere else to go. Now, we've watched other interviews where when these people come to the United States, they know exactly where they're going and they know exactly where they want to go. So how is it that once they get into the interior of the United States, they don't know anything? Shout out to Lloyd Sky 9. What's good with it? Shout out to DSB and Sean. What's good with y'all? Shout out Emperor Dindu. May the force be with you. You know what I'm saying?
Your family's migration to,
But not the excessive force, though. Not the excessive force. May the actual force be with you, not the excessive force. You know what I'm saying?
how these families are being treated right now.
When I came here with my family, we didn't get much support.
You got probably nothing.
We got nothing.
Yeah.
We came here to stay with an aunt that was already living in New York, and we struggled through those many years at the beginning to find work, find housing, etc. I mean, it's hard to settle here as an immigrant, but once you get over those initial challenges, it's beautiful. It's great to be in the city, and this is why so many people keep coming.
And poll after poll finds New Yorkers angry at the federal government and their lack of help in fixing this crisis. Mayor Adams has gone to D.C. more than 10 times, pleading for help with what could be a $12 billion cost over the next 3 years. Right now, New York City is on its own, running out of money and out of room.
Running out of money and running out of room. And there go Box Bro. You see him inside the box? You got camouflage popping off over here. He on some Call of Duty stuff. Y'all see this Box Bro inside this box? How small is he that he fit in this box?
Zone, running out of money and out of room.
We're getting.
They put that up there real quick. You know what I'm saying? They was hoping people missed it, but we saw it. We saw the hand come out of that box. How many people saw that hand come out of that box? If y'all saw that hand come out of that box, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't, give me a thumbs down.
Out of money and out of room.
Yeah, we see you in there. We see that hand come out of that box.
We're getting close to anywhere from 2,500 to peaking at 4,000 a week.
What happens when there's no more room? I mean, we're almost at capacity now, right?
No, we're there. We're there. We're not just saying we're out of room as a soundbite. We're out of room. Literally, people are going to be eventually sleeping on the streets.
Okay, what would it take for you to close the front door?
I don't have the authorization to tell people they can't come into New York City.
Why not?
It's against the law. It's against the law.
But everybody keeps talking about sanctuary city, that we're not using it the way that it was originally intended.
And I agree. We cannot by law tell someone if they come into the city, you can't come into the city.
So I want y'all to pay very close attention to what Mayor Eric Adams says. He says that it's illegal, right, in the current state, based on the current laws, to turn people away from New York City, to tell them that you can't come to the city. You know what I'm saying? And I got to agree with DSB. Shout out to DSB. DSB says we definitely got to work on getting this channel monetized. Facts. We got to get that 500 subs. Make sure if you guys haven't smashed that like button, y'all smash that like button. Also, if y'all haven't hit that bell, make sure you guys hit that bell. Now, we talked about the law, that the shelter law in New York, right? We talked about the shelter law. That's one of the roadblocks that they have. Then there's the sanctuary city status. So now the thing is that they might not be able to immediately make those changes to where New York City is able to turn people away. However, if they start the process now and put in initiatives and get some of this stuff going through court, then they can fight some of it, right? Would you guys agree? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
We can't even turn them over to ICE.
I know, we see that. There are crimes that are going on in the city that are migrant related, and there's no talk about that at all. Why not? Why can't the NYPD notify ICE?
The law states that we cannot.
So I want you guys to, again, pay very close attention to this. So now this is one of the reasons why these crime waves are increasing. This is one of the reasons why there's so much crime. Shout out to Corey Green. This is one of the reasons why there's so much crime. The crime is increasing, and as these amounts of migrants starts to really increase, you're going to see the amount of crime increase even more. And they're able to get away with it because, as New York City Mayor Eric Adams just stated here, being that they're a sanctuary city, they are not allowed to turn them over to New York Police Department, who should then in turn turn them over to ICE. And we're going to talk about some of those crimes as we get deeper into the stream.
turning them over to ICE.
I know we see that there are crimes that are going on in the city that are migrant related, and there's no talk about that at all. Why not? Why can't the NYPD notify ICE?
The law states that we cannot notify ICE. I cannot break the law and enforce the law.
So what I think I'm confused about is, you know, migrants have come to our city for years and years, decades, but they were not given a hotel room. They were not given food, clothing, cell phones, health insurance. Stop it. Why can't you stop it?
We have never witnessed this level of migration in this hemisphere. Europe was dealing with this, but with the destabilization of Venezuela, we've never witnessed before. 7.5 million people in this hemisphere. So we are being inundated, and we have now moved into another phase of saying all of those services that you're talking about, that we're down to food, shelter, clothing. That's it. Because this is a national problem. It's unfair for local municipalities and cities to handle this problem.
But the president says the border is secure. Is it?
Well, I don't know the definition of what they're using as secure. You know.
So I want you guys to pay very close attention. Everybody know now, especially you're a law enforcement officer, Eric Adams. Now, if you told your men to secure the perimeter, or if you were told by one of your superiors to secure the perimeter, just give us that definition then. I want you guys to pay very close attention. Y'all see this? I don't know what the definition of secure means. Who doesn't know what the definition of secure means? Here's what I need you guys to do. I need you guys in the comment section with the characters that are allowed by YouTube to give me the best definition that you can provide of secure. Everybody knows what secure means, but Eric Adams doesn't. Eric Adams is a former police officer. If the police are told to, quote unquote, secure the perimeter, what does that mean? Use that definition then. So you mean to tell me that the news lady who's there to interview you knows more about the definition and how to use the word secure than you do as a former law enforcement officer? Come on, man. They got to stop this nonsense. They got to stop it.
The president says the border is secure. Is it?
Well, I don't know the definition of what they're using as secure. You know,
Would you say it was secure?
I think too many people are coming through various pathways and cavities.
Okay, so there's that. There's that. We answered the question, Eric. See, I want you guys to pay very close attention to how he answered the question without answering the question. He said, I think people are coming through the barriers. Well, what is a barrier supposed to do? A barrier is supposed to keep something, quote unquote, secure. A border is supposed to provide some sort of regulation. Now, if the barrier is not effective to provide regulation, then what does that mean? What one word could you use if the barriers are not effective? Well, what that means is whatever the barriers are supposed to be blocking out, it's unsecure. So you have to ask yourself the question, well, Eric Adams, why didn't you just say that? Here, I want to ask you guys this question. Why did Eric Adams why did he just not say that?
Our border. And we have to be extremely careful because not everyone that's coming is pursuing the American dream.
Yeah, we've been hearing that. Yeah. So this is a larger investigation on.
So everyone who's coming is not supporting the is not coming here for the American dream. That's interesting. What are they coming here for then? Now, mind you, these are the words of Mayor Eric Adams himself. Okay, we're getting somewhere. So all of these people that are coming to the United States, they're not coming to the United States for the American dream. What are you coming for then? And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 37 people watching and we got 28 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 40, that'd be great.
immigration that I'm working on for Fox Nation. It will be on Fox Nation in the next few weeks.
What did you think when you walked into the Roosevelt? Because I mean, we've asked so many reporters, like,
Right.
hey, can we get inside?
Right. It
And
was
this is
very
the first time.
organized once you got inside. And,
Really?
you know, we were talking about it, how like when, you know, you have guests over, you clean up your house
Yeah.
before the guests arrive. I didn't know whether they cleaned
I
up
was
the
gonna
house
say, 'cause it looks nice.
before we got there, or whether like it just, we hit a slow period
Yeah.
when we walked inside.
Mhm.
But it was very organized. And let's face it, a lot of people keep coming there from every which way now.
And then you see the mayor trying to implement some rules on when the buses can come in and out, but they figured out a way around it.
It's very frustrating, and it's something that we will be looking into more and more.
So there's that. All right. So now next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at this video that's going, quote unquote, behind the scenes. Now, as far as this goes, we've gone very, very in depth behind the scenes. So we're gonna see if they're gonna tell us anything that we don't already know. Carlton says she got that sweater from Temu. Yeah, facts. And shout out to Sean Williams. Sean says, I'm reading up on that quote unquote crisis in Venezuela, and I'm reading the fact that the Biden administration is now using that to try to legitimize calling these quote unquote illegals refugees / migrants. Yeah, facts. And we've actually talked about that crisis in Venezuela. That crisis in Venezuela has been going on for quite some time. There's a crisis with the prison system, and there's also an economic crisis where they have financial chaos. They had hyperinflation. They had currency devaluation. A loaf of bread costs like $1 million. I'm not sure what their unit of money is down there in Venezuela. I believe that it might be pesos, Venezuelan peso. But don't quote me. You know what I'm saying? Now, this migrant crisis has been going on even before the Venezuelan financial instabilities, right? So my question is, what else is going on? And yeah, and that's facts. You're absolutely right. All of that was caused by the white American government. Big facts. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Big facts. Shout out to John Guillory. What's good with it, bro? So let's check this out and see what they're talking about.
Because earlier this week, at least 13 buses dropped off migrants in several New Jersey towns. And local officials there say that they then boarded buses and trains to New York City.
All right, photographer Leroy Press capturing this video showing migrants arriving at Penn Station. Leroy has been documenting the migrant crisis, getting stuff that nobody else gets. He posted on his social media. It's gone viral. He's with us this morning with the perspective on the crisis that he sees. Leroy Press, nice to have you here on the.
Ha! Not the Leroy y'all was expecting, huh? Not the Leroy that y'all was expecting, huh? Shout out to Ty Valentine. What's good with it, bro?
Thank you, Bianca.
Tell us a little bit who you are, first of all.
So I'm an independent photographer in New York City, Brooklyn, New York.
Shout out to John Guillory. Make sure y'all throw some radiation emoji in the chat and some flames in the chat for John. The Boulevard. That's it. That's what they're called. Facts. Big facts. Appreciate you, bro.
Go where places where most photographers don't want to go. I get a lot of great tips, and I go film it. And I'm pretty good at it. I have a lot of sources. I've been doing it for about 3.5 years now, since the vaccine lockdowns and the COVID lockdowns. And I covered everything from protest, politics, migrants. I'm a big crime guy. Yeah. And now we're back in the migrant cycle with the news, so I'm like the top guy.
Okay, let's look at one of your current viral videos that you captured just recently with the migrants. Can you kind of explain what you saw with this video?
Sure. So with the migrants showing up at Penn Station, it's to avoid Mayor Adams' executive order and for buses coming in for Texas.
How did you know they were migrants?
You can tell they're migrants. They're wearing blankets, and I've seen the activists there. And like I said, I got a feel for things, and I know what I'm looking at, and I know what's going on.
All those migrants, they all came to the airport with the American Red Cross blankets on. Did you guys happen to peep that? If you guys saw that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not, give me a thumbs down.
What else did you notice when they got to Penn Station?
I've noticed some activists there greeting them. I've noticed PD on the lookout.
Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. What's good with it, Brooklyn Queen?
The activists are not giving them money. Absolutely not.
The one thing I think we're following some of the money, and you've posted about this on your X profile, is about these NGOs that are giving them money. But they're using that money that's coming from taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah.
When you post about...
All right, now here goes my question. She just mentioned NGOs. My question to you guys is, what is a NGO and what do they do?
You get a lot of pushback.
I do. It's look, for my thing is, it's be honest, regardless of what people think. Some people want to hide what's going on. As a reporter, as a photographer, it's my job to show what's going on, not cover it up. Right?
Are these some of the NGOs that maybe we would know of that people don't want to talk about?
There's some Catholic charities. I did break a story where a migrant told me about the Salvation Army paying for his plane ticket and getting him on a plane, and paying for the taxis and paying for certain things. And then we have NGOs that I was told that.
So look, I want you guys to pay very close attention, man. Look at how much the NGOs and the government are paying for the migrants. Like literally all of this stuff is being subsidized. There's virtually no out-of-pocket costs for the migrants. Virtually no out-of-pocket costs for the migrants whatsoever. And shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 45 people watching and we got 35 likes. If everybody can bang on a like button and get us to 50, that'd be great.
Are lying to migrants at the border, telling them if you come to New York, you'll have the best life, you'll get a 5-star hotel, you'll find jobs, and that's not really the truth.
Yeah.
It's not. And again, these migrants are human. You have to feel bad for them at times.
You also, though, see some of the bad parts of the migrant situation. You've witnessed some fights.
I've witnessed some fights. I've witnessed some stabbings. I've witnessed some robberies. And it's sad because, again, desperate people do desperate things. And the Biden administration threw these migrants in New York City's lap and said, you deal with.
Now, that's interesting, right? Desperate people do desperate things. Poverty, right, is positively correlated with crime and criminality. So I find it fascinating that you have one group of people here who is locked out and blocked out of wealth in the country with a high crime rate, yet you have the entire dominant society attempting to attribute crime that we have going on to genetics, while we're just giving these people a pass and saying that their criminality is related to poverty and circumstance, which I find fascinating because we Black people here in the United States, we did not immigrate from crime-ridden, chaos-ridden, prison system crisis countries. These people are coming from countries that have a natural prison system crisis there in their own countries, which means that if there's a prison system crisis in their countries, then you have to ask about criminality in those cultures. But what's funny about it is that people attribute criminality to our culture. So somebody make that make sense.
That when New York City's been constantly saying, we no mas, we can't deal with this no more. We're going broke. We have no more room. Adams and his team is doing the best they can, and they have done well, but it's just no more.
So the mayor admitted to me the other day that there is crime in the migrant community, but ICE cannot be called. Are the police called? Do you see the police come at all when there's these problems?
The police do show up, but their hands are tied. Well, they get arrested, the migrants that are committing these bad crimes already know that nothing's going to happen to them. And
the migrants that are committing these bad crimes already know that nothing is going to happen to them. So the migrants, for the most part, are the new untouchables. And I got to agree with Sean. Shout out to Sean. Sean been dropping some fire in the comment section. And I agree. Their hands are not tied. They are not doing the best that they can. Facts. If you guys agree with Sean, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Well, they get arrested, the migrants that are committing these bad crimes already know that nothing's going to happen to them. And again, it's not fair to the good ones that really seek asylum here.
Maybe you can explain why nothing happened to them for viewers that don't understand.
It's the sanctuary city with some of the laws, and then it's the lax New York City laws where everybody can do whatever they want, and prosecutors don't prosecute, and the cops can't do their jobs. Their hands are tied.
What is this video we're looking at right now?
That one is at the Port Authority. That's where migrants were dropped off from Texas, and they were lined up against the wall. This is another location where this is at downtown Manhattan right now. It's mixed videos. It's downtown Manhattan and the Port Authority. Downtown Manhattan, you'll see lines of migrants every day waiting for immigration court. It's bizarre. Me being a 45-year-old native New Yorker, this is new to me to see. It's new to any one of us to see. And hopefully we can control this because it's out of control right now.
Let me ask you a question, though, because we're showing this on Good Day New York right now, but you're saying that a lot of networks don't want to pick up this video. Why is that?
I was told some don't want to cause xenophobia, right? Which I get, but we just can't hide the truth.
Yeah.
Now, this is interesting. According to him, there's the mainstream media is not really picking up on these migrant crisis stories. the mainstream media is not really picking up on these migrant crisis stories. Now, my question for you guys is, why do you think that they're attempting to keep this stuff out of the news cycle?
There's no reason to hide the truth. They really show what's going on. For us to fix something, we have to show what's going on, you know?
All right. Well, Leroy Press, what are you going to do today? But by the way, you work very unusual hours, right?
Yeah.
What are your hours?
My hours is whenever I go. I can be out till 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I can be out at 12 in the afternoon. Before I came here, I went right to the Roosevelt to check what was going on.
Anything going on there?
Yeah, the migrants are now being brought in from Grand Central Station now. It's always a cat and mouse game, and I enjoy it.
Do you think they do this when they think the media is not going to be covering it?
I think they do this to get around Mayor Adams' executive order now. They're bringing them from Jersey to New York, so these buses won't catch a Class B felony.
Yeah.
A Class D felony. Did you guys hear that? So these bus owners, operators, if they're busing migrants from Texas and they drop them off to non-authorized places, or if they drop them off without making an appointment first, they risk facing a quote-unquote Class D felony.
Well, Leroy Press, nice to meet you in person. His X account or Twitter account is called Viral News NYC, also on Instagram, right?
Yes.
You get the craziest stuff. You post the craziest stuff. Really, it really is. And it's, wow, it's incredible.
Thank you.
And how do you support yourself?
I own a natural medicine company. I make a little money off the press, but not as much as I should be making, put it this way.
Not as much money as he should be making. So he feels that he should be making massive amounts of money for his social media posts. And, you know, the New York News, they just gave him a shameless plug. You know what I'm saying? So there's that. Now, you know, how long have I been covering the migrant crisis as far as putting things together and doing analysis and breakdowns? And it's been pretty accurate, right? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Who's invited me anywhere as a correspondent? That's the point. You know what I'm saying? That's the point. They don't care what we got to say.
Well, several town officials in New Jersey are reporting busloads of migrants arriving at train stations and bus terminals. Officials say nearly 400 migrants have arrived at various towns in the state. Now, the migrants are said to be bound for the Big Apple, but they're getting dropped off in the Garden State and then taking trains right into New York City.
So in other words, they're trying to circumvent Mayor Adams' order.
So now I want you guys to pay very close attention to what they're doing. And make sure you guys throw some flames in the chat for the new subscribers. You know what I'm saying? They're working around these new laws that have been put into place, right? They're working around these laws by dropping people off at destination points not inside New York City and then spreading out the migration efforts. This is a new tactic that they're using to try to get around those Class D felony laws that they just talked about.
Mayor of Edison, Sam Joshi, he's not standing for that. He says buses of asylum seekers arriving in his town are going to be sent back to the U.S.-Mexico border. He's with us this morning.
Okay, so again, look at him. This dude himself is an immigrant. You can always tell when somebody's an immigrant because they got hair like white people and skin like us. You know what I'm saying? You can tell. You know what I'm saying? They got a white people wig and a black person rapping. You know what I'm saying? And so this guy, this mayor, who is an immigrant himself, or who's a descendant of some immigrants, which so are these two news anchors, he's aggressively sending immigrants back to the Mexico border. So this is what they're doing in the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen to this again. They said he's not having it.
He says buses of asylum seekers arriving in his town are going to be sent back to the U.S.-Mexico border. He's with us this morning. Mayor Joshi, nice to have you on Good Day New York.
Thank you for having me.
So have you had any buses try to circumvent Mayor Adams' order?
Yes, we've had in the last several days, we've had at least 2 buses to our knowledge that came into Edison. One of them was in transit, went right through, was not stopped. One of them was, they stopped at the Edison train station and they thought that it was a 24-hour train station, but it was not. So our Edison Police Department reached out to them.
How did they thought that it was a 24-hour train station? And let me ask you guys this question. Everybody in here, right? How many people have Google Translate on their phone or on their tablet or on their device that they use? If you've got Google Translate, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't, then give me a thumbs down. So you mean to tell me that they're not able to look into their phone or look into whatever device it is that they use? They're not able to do that and translate whatever it is that they don't understand into their language and read it and see what is versus what isn't true. They're not able to do that. Why aren't they able to do that?
When they spoke to him, the representative came off the bus, at which point there was an interaction. The representative got on the phone, must have spoken to somewhere up their chain, and they decided to just leave altogether on the bus that they came from.
So wait, what was the interaction with your police personnel and the whoever was running the bus charter?
Our police department, the officers asked, who they were hired by, what brought them there.
And
what
did they get any information?
They said that they were hired by the government, and then they proceeded to say that they were hired by the Texas governor.
And then, so obviously you did nothing because they left, right?
Correct, they left.
So now what?
So we had a bus on standby, a chartered bus on standby. But here's what I do know.
To take them back to the border?
Correct, because
Okay.
this is not a local issue. I can't be any more clear that as a mayor, Edison does not have.
Now, I want to ask you guys if you all agree. Do you all agree with this guy that this is not a local issue? If you guys agree with him, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down. I would tend to agree, right? I would say that managing the manageable parts of this is a local responsibility, and the parts that the local area is not able to handle as a result of limitations on being that they are local, at that point, the federal government should need to step in and support the local government. Not take over the operation, but support the local government. You know what I'm saying? If you guys agree with me, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, then give me a thumbs down.
Have the ability or means, the financial means to support migrants. And I can't be any more clear that I am the son of immigrants.
Oh, you didn't need to tell us that. You didn't need to tell us that. You didn't need to tell us that. We already know. You know what I'm saying? We already know. You definitely did not need to tell us that. And shout out to DeAndre. DeAndre said his cut looked like he lead singer in a 50s group. Right. Him and Vivek Ramaswamy both. Vivek Ramaswamy and him, you know what I'm saying? They got those old school foundational Black American haircuts looking like Smokey Robinson. Y'all about 60, 70 years late with the do. He looking like Denzel Washington in the Malcolm X movie. Why do they all wear their hair like that, man? That's kind of crazy. What's y'all thoughts on that? Yeah, they think they do. They think it's a flex. You know what I'm saying? It's really not, though.
Immigrant community. We're very proud of it. The majority of my friends, many of the people that I work with, so many individuals are immigrants, but yet Edison residents overwhelmingly stand by the position that I've taken because we don't have the means to address them.
Okay. So when you're saying, it's not local governments or state governments, where does this lie with? Who's in charge of this? Because a lot of people are maybe have been vocal about it. Some people may be shying away, but whose problem is it ultimately?
It is squarely a federal national issue. It should not fall on the laps of myself as mayor or any other mayor.
And do you think that this, federal government, do you think that?
Yeah, big facts, Sean. I agree 100%. If you guys agree with Sean, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Sean says another thing, no more Black and Brown Alliance talk. No more of that. Facts. Now, here's the thing, right? As far as we go online and independent media, independent news, it's not us who's saying that stuff, right? Would you guys agree? It's not us that's saying that. That would be your Roland Martins. That would be your MSNBC. That would be your Joy Reids. That would be your Al Sharptons. That would be those people. That would be those old school civil rights era legacy Democrats. No, that's not us for the most part, right? Would you guys agree with that? So now that's one of the reasons why, because the mainstream media will never deal with us. The mainstream media will never have us as guests or have us as correspondents when it comes to discussing these kind of things. That's why it's imperative for us to make sure that our voices are larger than the mainstream media so that we're able to control the message, right? And I want you guys to pay very close attention to the psyop that Charlemagne the God is running right now. Charlemagne the God right now is trying to position himself to falsely make him appear as if he's some type of independent, and he's not. He's a Democrat shill. But what he's trying to do is they have him on a special assignment right now to try to get ahead of the narrative to be a controlled oppositionist. You know what I'm saying? So people should be aware of that.
This administration has been failing you, has been failing Mayor Adams.
You know, what I do know is that Governor Abbott, even in his decision-making process, doesn't have, you know, he's not the one that should be deciding where buses should be going.
So I find that interesting because you're not saying, hey, this is not a Biden problem. You're saying you're going to Governor Abbott. Why is it difficult for us to blame the current president?
Because it's squarely a federal issue. So the congressional members, the senators.
So if it's a federal issue, then that would mean that it's the president's issue. Would you guys agree? If it's a federal issue, then it's the president is the one that should be addressed. Facts, Corey.
Really a federal issue. So the congressional members, the senators, you know, everyone on the federal level needs to be addressing this issue.
So let me ask you something, because the White House spokesperson yesterday said, well, they've been giving a lot of guidance to the mayors and, you know, all these cities. Has she reached out to you? Have you gotten any kind of outreach from the White House about how to handle this?
No, we've not. We fall under the bracket of smaller municipalities with 108,000 of a population. And like I said, I can only speak to knowing that this is a federal issue and they need to be discussing this on the federal level. Mayors should not have to deal with this problem.
So what is the governor saying, governor of Jersey? Because I know he came out. I was trying to figure out what he said in that.
Right. So again, he keeps saying that mayors shouldn't have to deal with this problem. It's a federal problem. But then when they say, well, how come the president's not being addressed directly? He continues to not address the president directly. Anytime he's asked about the president, he changes the conversation to talk about Governor Abbott. Yeah, exactly. I got to agree. If you guys agree with Sean, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Sean is on fire in the comment section, man. Shout out to you, bro. Undocumented. This is white politics. This fool is trying to play both sides of the fence. He knows that the federal government follows whoever is sitting in the president's office. Exactly. He also knows that the president, if I'm not mistaken, has veto power. There's a lot more that can be done about this than what's currently being done about it or what's currently going on. Shout out to Ryan Glenn. What's good with it, bro?
That statement, I felt like he wasn't taking any particular side. Like he wasn't saying, Mayor Joshi, do not send them back to the border.
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
No, we're going to have ongoing conversations about this.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that the issue is not local nor state. It's just not. It's not Governor Murphy's issue. It's not Governor Abbott's problem. It's a federal issue that needs to be dealt with squarely on a federal level.
Well, it's interesting because when you look at the DOJ, they're now trying to sue Texas for implementing a new law which would allow the local and state law enforcement to arrest people that they think are coming in illegally. I mean, this administration is trying to stop Texas from, you know, securing their own border.
Yeah. I mean, this lady right here is right. And remember, we know that the federal government has done more to interfere with Operation Lone Star than they have to interfere with migrants illegally crossing on the southern border. How many people would agree with that statement? The federal government has done more to interfere with Operation Lone Star than they have, right, to deal with the illegal crisis, the illegal migrant crisis on the southern border. That is a true and unequivocally true statement. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, again, I get back to between administration as well as congressional members and senators, they need to figure it out, period. That's the bottom line. They need to figure it out so that state municipalities do not have to deal with this issue at all.
Do you have any beef with the mayor of New York City? Because I know back in 2022, he said he's proud to be a sanctuary state. He welcomed the migrants on coming in on a busload. And I mean, essentially, he said, this is where we're at.
So I want y'all to pay attention to how these two newscasters, they keep trying to throw Eric Adams under the bus. Like, pay attention to that.
And now this is the problem that we're dealing with. Do you think maybe he should have taken a stronger stance? Maybe you wouldn't have to be dealing with this as mayor now?
So as mayor of Edison, I only focus on Edison issues and what pertains to Edison. Like I said, I come from a background of immigrants. I come from a community of immigrants that supports my issue here in Edison.
All right, listen, don't just put yourself in a little Edison hole here, Mayor. You've been in politics since you were 27, right?
Since I was 14.
14,
Wow.
okay, who's counting? But
How do you be in politics since you're 14? Were you even in this country when you were 14? Seriously. What did you do? What kind of what kind of politics were you doing at age 14? And were they here in the United States? Asking for a friend. You know what I'm saying? These people come with the biggest nonsense.
come on, what's next?
Look, I'm happy to serve the Edison residents, and that's exactly what I'm focusing on.
Mayor?
Yes.
She wants you to think
It's
big picture.
2024.
Yep, it sure is.
Okay, you got to put nice things out in the atmosphere.
Yep.
Okay, what are we thinking?
Look, I'm very proud of the role I'm in, and I want to continue serving as mayor.
Forever?
I'm very happy. I love my town. I absolutely love my
Rosanna
town, and I was
not-
very proud
Listen,
of my municipality.
good luck with the buses, though. You don't want on
Yeah,
standby? Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Yeah.
Very, very nice
all the
meeting you.
best. Say hello to everybody in
Will
Edison
do.
for
Will
us.
do.
Mayor Sam Joshi.
You and I.
I think Rosanna's she's thinking about bigger picture over here. Let him just be
2024.
Edison.
This is the town I was born and raised in.
That's
You know,
nice.
it's very, it's a different
I
dynamic.
was born and raised in Brooklyn. Look at me now, city girl. By the way, everybody wants to be cool and go back to Brooklyn. I'm always on the wrong side of the pond. Anyway, nice to meet you, Mayor.
Nice meeting you as well.
Thank you.
All right, so there's that. All right, so now Fox News did an interesting video, and they're talking about the strategy on this video of busing the migrants to sanctuary cities, right? And now it's interesting because the Democrats in Texas are supporting Governor Abbott, and they're saying that this is a good idea that Governor Abbott did to get eyes on this situation. Now, here's my question. Do you guys agree with that assessment? If you guys agree with that, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with that, then give me a thumbs down.
We have an idea what the Senate might do, and we're still waiting to get some answers on the legislation. But I understand we could have a framework Monday or Tuesday of the biggest immigration reform since Ronald Reagan was in office. Now, if we're going to get a secure deal, and if people are smart, if they want to know what will actually work, they will go to my next guest. He is Congressman Henry Cuellar. Unfortunately, for the most part, Democratic administrations have ignored him when he sat there sincerely just wanting to fix the problem, and they tried to primary him for trying to do that. Congressman Cuellar, from what you understand, how legitimate are these negotiations? Am I wrong to be optimistic right now?
I think you're right. I think there's very sincere efforts to get something done, and it's got to be something that got to get the 60 votes in the Senate, and then in the House, the Speaker has to.
Now, I want you guys to pay close attention. This guy right here, he's a Democrat. And I got to agree. I got to agree with Tilo. They all know what they're doing. This is all orchestrated. Facts. Very big facts. And you can tell. You can tell that this is fake. You can tell that this is orchestrated. You can tell that they have a common goal in mind with this.
Let the will of the House work. Look, we know what happens in the House. The far left is going to say no. The far right is going to say no. But I think there's enough Republicans and Democrats that can say, are we doing the right thing at the border? And if we have the right repercussions at the border, we can stop this historic numbers of people coming into the United States.
Do you agree that this is the worst you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at the numbers, no doubt about it. I think last month we had over 302,000 individuals. When you get 10, 12,000 people a day coming to the border, we have a humanitarian crisis. And again, you know, the president, if I was advising the president, I would say, hey, address the American public. Tell them that there's a humanitarian crisis at the border, that you're going to get on it. You're going to come up with something.
Now, the interesting thing about this is that Joe Biden has ignored the border. Yeah, I gotta agree. And hopefully we'll be able to get to it. We might not be able to get to it, but we're gonna look at the bipartisan bill that's being worked on right now, and we're gonna break it down. Rob from Denver says, I think Democrats and Republicans are working together to grant 10+ million amnesty while funding increased border security. Right, exactly. Which, now here's my question. If we get the 10+ million amnesty, how is that gonna solve the strain on resources? It's probably not, right?
To address it. It's not only the money part of it, but we do need to make some policy changes. I mean, right now it's so easy for people to say fear, and they get in, and then they wait 4, 5, 6 years before they get a hearing in front of an immigration judge. And most, if you look at the numbers for the last 25 years, 87% of the people are going to be rejected because they don't qualify for asylum. But it's too easy to come in at the beginning.
Congressman, I'm going to put you in an odd spot now. You were sitting there basically spitting into the wind, trying to tell your party this was a big deal, and they were ignoring you. Until Governor Abbott put them on buses, signed releases, and say you can go to the city you want to. And they were choosing D.C., Philadelphia in some cases, Chicago, but most of all New York. It became a national problem.
Now, here goes my question. Why are the migrants choosing to go to the cities that they're going to? Why are they making those choices? Why are they choosing those particular places to go to? Does it make any sense? What's you guys' thoughts on why these people are choosing the places that they're going?
The Democratic cities. Does Governor Abbott deserve your respect for doing this?
Well, look, let me put it this way. Actually, the first city that started doing this was actually the city of Laredo. It was a Democratic mayor that was sending people up to Dallas and Houston. And he got calls from the mayor in Houston saying, hey, don't send them over here. So it was a Democrat doing that. And again, most people are going, they'll fly, they'll get on the bus. But yeah, Abbott was able to serve that wave. And I think he did it in a good way to get the attention, because now you got, the mayors, Democratic mayors, that are saying what we have been saying at the border for many, 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 many years. They're now saying what we've been saying, that there's just too many people coming in, and it is expensive to take care of those people once they're in the United States.
Congressman, when California gives illegal immigrants health care and now transition surgery if they choose that, when New York says, I'll give you 3 meals a day, we'll do your laundry, and we'll give you housing, do they understand that that's a magnet, that it makes everything worse?
There are push factors and pull factors. Push factors are, the poverty, the crime, looking for a job in the countries. But then there are pull factors that can be very, very powerful. The examples you gave, those are pull factors, powerful. The fact that they can get to the border, hit a low speed bump, be there, get processed, and then get flown somewhere else, that is the pull factor. And if we don't change that pull factor at the border, they're going to keep coming, not only from Mexico, Guatemala, Central America, South America, but from over 50 countries across the world.
So you agree that, by the way, we're going to dissolve in some New York Post photos of basically what's been happening in New York City. Even when the buses go to New Jersey, they're hopping on trains and going to New York. I mean, look at some of this and look what they're having. It's no life for any of us, and we can't afford to do it. We are actually spending $6 billion on illegal immigrants, and there's so many needs in this country. But Congressman, it looks like that's going to be in the bill. It looks like they're going to change asylum to saying there's fear, go to a different part of your country. It's not going to work. Catch and release will be ended. The wall will not be finished. That's going to aggravate a lot of Republicans. Actually bothers me too. So that's one thing that's not going to be in it. Do you believe that Speaker Johnson will lose his job if he gets Democratic votes to pass what's handed to him from the Senate?
Well, I think that's something that you probably have to ask somebody else on the Republican caucus. But I would tell you, Speaker Johnson wants to do the right thing.
Does Hakeem Jeffries
come up with? I'm sorry.
Would Jeffries also push Democrats to vote for something?
I think Speaker Johnson will see what he needs to do with caucus. Leader Hakeem Jeffries will look at the language, and hopefully, if it's good, Hopefully, I hope he does that, but he's got to review it.
Now, here goes my question. How many people think that the government is going to get shut down on this issue? Do you all think that this issue is going to cause a government shutdown? I think that is going to.
I got to review it. I have a general idea of some of the things that we're looking at. I think we do need to change. I think as Senator Khan said, you know, we certainly have to address the asylum. It's just too easy for them to claim asylum, the initial one.
Right.
I think the parole should be on a case-by-case basis, not a blanket parole. So those are things, policy changes that have to be made. Funding, we have to put funding in the right places. We have to put more money for ICE so they can be sent back to the country of their origin.
Absolutely. Congressman, they'd be so smart to ask you. You should be in these talks. No one's put more time in to find out answers. I always appreciate having you on. Thank you, Congressman.
Yeah, now I actually agree with this congressman, and I believe that the people should get sent back to their home countries. And this is one of the reasons why I feel that way. We went over this before, but we're going to go over it briefly again. The lunacy of free health insurance for migrants. Most people who are American citizens are not able to pay for their own health insurance or cover their own costs. But the geniuses of the United States government feel that it's a good idea to take taxpayer money, and instead of creating programs for taxpayers that would allow taxpayers to be able to get health insurance, we're just going to pay for a bunch of free health insurance for the migrants. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 38 people watching and we got 44 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 60, that'd be great. So let's check out what they're talking about right here.
Well, revelers were ringing in the new year. Hundreds of new laws were taking effect across the country. At midnight, the minimum wage increased in 22 states. And in California, all illegal immigrants became eligible for health insurance under the state's program for low-income residents. Jeff.
Now, we talked about this, right? If you guys want more information about this particular topic, there's a live stream called Free 99. Check out that live stream, and shout out to Lex Jetson over on X. If you guys are not watching on X, you are able to watch on X. All you got to do is just follow the X account called @BaseReality, and you'll be able to catch these live streams and also get a notification.
Well, revelers were ringing in the new year. Hundreds of new laws were taking effect across the country. At midnight, the minimum wage increased in 22 states. And in California, all illegal immigrants became eligible for health insurance under the state's program for low-income residents. Jeff Paul joins us live.
Now, this program, if I'm not mistaken, is called Medi-Cal. Right? Now, what is that going to do to the tax costs?
From Los Angeles with a look at this new law.
Yeah, Molly, well, starting today, California now becomes the first state to provide health insurance to all undocumented people of all ages. The state is now preparing to provide full coverage to roughly 700,000 individuals.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Is this just something that California is doing, or is this something that's going to happen nationwide? What do you guys think? Let me know.
Under the state's Medi-Cal system. Now, prior to today, health insurance was available to undocumented residents under the age of 26. But this new law now expands health care to any age. It's expected to cost the state $3.1 billion each year.
$3.1 billion is how much it's going to cost the state. Now, if I'm not mistaken, California already has a $60 billion deficit. And Sean says it's going to be nationwide. Now, here's my question. If you guys agree with Sean, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I agree. I think they're going to take this nationwide.
California Governor Gavin Newsom has called the move a transformative step towards strengthening the healthcare system for all Californians. However, we should mention, as this program begins, it comes as California faces a record $68 billion budget deficit.
Okay, yeah. So $68 billion budget deficit. $68 billion. So the deficit in California is already $68 billion, and they've just made the decision to make health insurance free for 700,000 migrants. Somebody make it make sense. So now here it says across the globe, millions of people are on the move. Like we said, the undocumented bros movement is global. You know what I'm saying? We've been saying that. Defying borders and violating laws to escape poor countries. And of course, they first name Africa. And they'll say, well, we did it because of alphabetical order, which they didn't. Asia and Latin America, and break into rich countries. Well, and also, you know, they don't tell the whole story. Break into rich countries that have extorted these poor countries that these people are coming from. But that's neither here nor there. The United States is their number one destination. I disagree with that. These people are going all over the place. If the United States was the number one destination, then we'd already be dealing with a long-lasting migrant crisis that we've already been dealing with. And Europe would just now be getting their first migrant issues going on. But it's the other way around. So they're not coming. The United States isn't the number one destination. It's the number one destination for some people. You know what I'm saying? America needs a strategy to control the impact of this lawless migration on our quality of life. Too bad the natives didn't have that when the European undocumented bros decided to invade, because that was an invasion. Pilgrims were an invasion. You know what I'm saying? Instead, the Democratic Party merely virtue signals saying, welcome, take whatever we have. As of January 1st, California is offering Medi-Cal to 760,000 undocumented migrants of all ages. California's healthcare system is already strained with long emergency room wait times and a dire nurse shortage. And the reason why that there's a nurse shortage is because people treat nurses like shit. And the pay sucks. So that's the reason why there's a nursing shortage. And also because people are too stupid. You know what I'm saying? They're too stupid to pass the state certifications. So those are some of the healthcare issues that are there as far as in regards to nursing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, sometimes people just don't want to go into nursing because who wants to deal with customer service when you're dealing with customers that are idiots and unappreciative? You know what I'm saying? So there's that. A dearth of beds and mental health facilities prevents municipalities from moving thousands of drug-addicted homeless off the streets and into treatment. Now, again, they didn't care about moving crackheads off the street and into treatment. They cared about sentencing crackheads to long prison sentences. Crackheads are also drug addicts and drug abusers. They just don't happen to be the same type that use the majority of fentanyl and meth. The fentanyl and meth users get special treatment. The state faces a staggering $68 billion deficit, yet the left opts to spend money on migrants instead of on California's own, showing utter disregard for health care of local residents. Now, here goes my question, right? California could spend money on its own by passing that reparations bill. So they're not really concerned with spending money on California's quote-unquote own. They're concerned about how California's money is servicing California's own white people. Only. So there's that. The California Republican Party warns that adding 760,000 undocumented people to the state health insurance rolls will exacerbate access problems, which is true probably. I would agree with that. In short, Californians will have to wait longer and settle for less care and pay more. Don't forget, pay more. Shout out to D-Side. What's good with it, bro? don't think this lunacy is limited to one state. All right, so pay attention to this. New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, Vermont, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington already cover migrants in specific age categories, and left-wing lawmakers are pushing to expand the coverage to all ages. Now, that's what California did. California started by covering small age groups of migrants, and then they expanded it out to where now all age groups are covered. So that's probably the same approach that these other states that they just listed here are going to take. New York lawmakers came close in June, but ended the legislative term without passing it. Blue state after blue state, Democrats are pushing to give migrants taxpayer-funded health coverage. So now, to me, if the people in the blue states want this to end, then you need to reduce the amount of taxpayers in blue states so that there's less tax dollars available so that they can't fund this, which is one of the reasons why you see people moving out of blue states in droves. And I don't blame them. Now, let me ask you guys a question. With all of this going on right now, what does another 4 years of Biden and Democrats look like? What would another 4 years of Biden and the Democrats look like as we're looking at things with all of this that we have going on right now? Something to think about. It's a knife in the back of hardworking Americans who struggle to pay medical bills. It will also doom this nation to a never-ending flood of strangers seeking government handouts. So that's interesting, right? Again, so if the government does something for the people that are there, is that a handout too? It's very interesting how the white media uses the word handouts. Yeah, facts. And again, shout out to Sean Williams. Shout out to Sean Williams. Sean Williams says, peep the pattern. Whites introduced small limited measures to set the table for all-inclusive laws to give illegals health care. So they started with child age illegals first. Facts. Shout out to my man Harrison on Twitch. If you guys not following on Twitch, make sure you guys take a moment and go follow on Twitch. He says, Rob, I see you still dropping duels. What other platforms you at? Yo, I'm about to shoot you the link real quick. But if you go to YouTube, a channel called Undocumented, that's me right there. So hold on, give me 1 second. I'm about to shoot this link over. Real quick, you guys, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment and hit that bell. Also, if you guys haven't shared the stream, wherever you're watching from, make sure you guys please share the stream. All right, bro, here you go. Shout out to my man, Win Loser Rug, and shout out to Sybil. What's good with it, bro? All right. So now here it says Connecticut's Democrat-controlled legislature has gone off the deep end, offering baby bonds, taxpayer-funded savings accounts for every child, including children of illegals whose birth is covered by the state's Husky public insurance program, even if their migrant parents just arrived days before their birth. So people are probably having babies, getting pregnant, and then coming to the United States to get the baby delivered for free. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. Nest eggs, courtesy of the taxpayer, for the express purpose of, quote unquote, closing the wealth gap. Which wealth gap? Now, again, we've heard them continue to mention this, quote unquote, wealth gap. So now, in terms of when it comes to the migrant crisis, we got to ask this question: what wealth gap are they talking about here? And shout out to Sean. Appreciate you sharing, bro. What wealth gap are they talking about here? The Democratic Party's zeal to provide migrants with free health insurance is extreme compared with what's occurring around the globe, even in socialist-leaning countries. In June, America was one of only a few first world countries to sign on to the United Nations sponsored Rabat Declaration, which declares all migrants should have access to a country's national health insurance programs. Now, here's my question. Do you all agree with that? Shout out to James Sumler. What's good with it? If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you guys do not agree with that, then give me a thumbs down. The Biden administration was in the company of Somalia, Chad, Algeria, and other third world countries. Notably, Canada, the United Kingdom, Germany, Norway, Sweden, and other European countries that receive large numbers of migrants did not sign. So a lot of these countries, like especially the Scandinavian countries and Canada, who are usually more liberal than the United States, even they didn't sign this. Even they didn't sign that. And they even say what I said in the next paragraph. Even socialist countries like Norway are strictly limiting migrants to emergency care only. No comprehensive health insurance. Man, they giving the migrants here in the United States comprehensive health insurance. They're giving the migrants comprehensive health insurance. These countries see what the Democratic Party in the United States refuses to admit. Free healthcare is a magnet. Yeah, that's facts. Contrary to Vice President Kamala Harris's blather, the flood of migrants across the southern border is not due to root causes the United States can ameliorate with diplomacy and foreign aid. It is a worldwide phenomenon. And again, we've been saying it. We said it here first. Undocumented bros, the movement is global. How long have we been saying that? Many European and Scandinavian countries are adjusting their policies to protect their own residents from undue burden. America is simply surrendering. Offering health insurance also invites an influx of sick people from countries that cannot provide care. What did Brandon Johnson's stupid ass say? You guys remember? Oh, they're sick. They're showing up sick. You guys remember when Brandon Johnson said that? Do you hear me? Do you hear me? They're showing up sick. You guys remember when Brandon Johnson said that? So they showing up sick, and now they showing up to a place where they're getting free health care. Venezuela's healthcare system has collapsed. Hospitals there lack 80 to 90% of essential medicines, a situation that's pushing the sick and their families to flee. Everybody's fleeing all over the place. Everybody's fleeing. Neighboring Brazil is reporting the reappearance of communicable infections such as tuberculosis, which now if we start having a tuberculosis outbreak here in the United States, that's about to be real bad. Hepatitis A, whooping cough, diphtheria, and measles because of the influx of Venezuelans needing care. So that what that means is that a lot of these people are bringing these things here to the United States more than likely. Okay. Expect similar problems in the United States. Open borders, free meals, hotel rooms, and the promises of free health coverage produce predictable results. Migration across the U.S. southern border set yet another record in December. Now, let me ask you guys this. How many people think that another record is going to be set in January? If you guys think that in January there's going to be yet another record set, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that there's going to be another record set, then give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Jesse Paris. What's good with it, bro? As one Republican member of Congress commented on California Governor Gavin Newsom's health policy, nothing is free. The California taxpayers have to pay for it, she added. It is treason. There's no other way to say it. At the least, it's a betrayal. And I'd have to agree with that. I'd absolutely have to agree with that. Now, we talked about all the money that they're spending in California, right? We're going to talk about a little bit of the money that they're spending in the Chi. All right. $100 million. $100 million is being spent in the Chi. Continued arrival of migrants prompts Chicago to shift nearly $100 million to providing shelter. They don't have to do that. They chose to do it. They don't have to do that. It's not the way that they have to go. It's not the way that the direction that things have to go in, right? But that's what they chose to do. Now, why did they make that choice is the question. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, again, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate everybody being here. We got 49 people watching and we got 53 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 70, that'd be great. The city of Chicago will tap nearly $100 million in federal C-19 funds to help address the ongoing migrant crisis in the city, officials announced on Friday. Now, mind you, to give reference, this article was posted, as you guys can see here, a week ago on 12/30 of 2023. So this is not that long ago. The city and some of its federal American Rescue Plan funds, which were received to address C-19 in 2021, will now be shifted within the Chicago budget to help out with sheltering at least 15,000 asylum seekers who are now living in the city. Now, let me ask you guys this question. Do you all think that taxpayers should have a voice and an influence in how taxpayer dollars are spent? If you guys think that they should, then give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that they should not, then give me a thumbs down. I think that they should. However, in this situation in Chicago, I don't think that they're being afforded that ability. You know what I'm saying? About $400 million remains from the rescue plan funds, much of which is currently earmarked for community projects. Officials said they don't anticipate needing to spend that money on supporting migrants in 2024. Johnson's top aide told the Sun-Times, and we might check this out at some other point, that funding won't move the needle much on handling the situation. And we've said that. We've said that before. So my question to everybody is, why would funding not move the needle on the situation? Now, I haven't talked about Denver yet, Jesse. That's part of why Brandon Johnson has continued to call on more money from the federal government. Better Government Association Chicago President David Griesing said the federal government should be more involved. So now, again, you're hearing the same thing from everybody that Eric Adams was initially saying. So now, do you guys recall? You guys remember when I had said, yo, all of these other places are going to start sounding exactly like New York. It's just a matter of time. Just sit back and wait. They're trying to shut Eric Adams up. But eventually, everybody's going to start sounding like New York. Now, I'm going to ask you guys this question. As we talk about these people in these different places, are they all starting to sound like New York? If they're all starting to sound like New York, then give me a thumbs up. If they're not, then give me a thumbs down. And while federal money will help, a change in national policy could also be in order. Helping the migrants get work, Greasing said, temporary work visas would be helpful because people are arriving here with nothing to do. They can't legally work. Finally, assistance at the border. Listen, boredom is not the problem here. So I don't know why we're saying, oh, they have nothing to do. They're arriving here. They don't have nothing to do. No, that's not true. You know what I'm saying? Although restrictive laws on migrant bus arrivals are being enacted in several suburbs, some mayors and village councils have told WBBM that they are not prepared to take in migrants. They plan to continue sending migrants to Chicago, which those officials described as the most prepared city in the region. And now, Chicago, they're saying Chicago is the most prepared city in the region, right? And Chicago itself is not prepared. You know what I'm saying? So now Jesse was asking about Denver, right? Here's a little news clip where they're talking about Denver. So we're gonna peep game right here.
Joining us now, Denver Democratic Mayor Mike Johnston. Mayor, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, Shannon.
Okay, so let's start here. Texas has sent tens of thousands of people, bus them to Denver, where you're now dealing with that situation. You've talked about how overwhelming it is there. And we'll get into some of the things that you're requesting, work permits and those kinds of things. But there's word now that Denver is also giving people one-way tickets to places like Chicago, like New York. Those mayors have said, we can't take people. We're overwhelmed.
So now what's going on? Remember, I told you that the game of musical migrants would begin to happen. Now here it comes. Here comes the game of musical migrants. Now what you're going to start seeing is that all these other places where there's migrant overflow and migrant trickle down, they're going to start gathering their migrants up and they're going to start sending them all over the place. So it's just musical migrants.
Well, so knowing the strain you've got there in Denver, why then send people onto these other cities as well?
Easy. The answer is easy.
Sure, Shannon. Just one thing. Listen.
The answer is very easy. You don't have to give a long, drawn-out explanation. The answer is easy, so that we don't have to deal with them. That's why we're sending them all over the place, so that we don't have to deal with them. I got better stuff to do. I got other things that I want to spend my money on, and because I don't want to deal with these people, I'm going to send them somewhere else. I'm going to make them somebody else's responsibility. That's the reason. I got better stuff to do. That's why I don't want to deal with him. No matter what this guy says, everything that he tries to talk around is going to come back to, I don't want to deal with him. Just watch. Just watch. I guarantee it.
Or overwhelmed. So knowing the strain you've got there in Denver, why then send people onto these other cities as well?
Sure, Shannon. Just one thing. Listen to the governor's point. I mean, I think I spend a lot of time each day talking to our newcomers that have arrived in Denver, and it's important to understand these stories. I mean, these are folks almost all from Venezuela. They've walked 3,000 miles. It's taken probably 3 or 4 months. Many of them are women with kids. These are professionals. These are school principals and engineers. And
no, they're not. This is he's blatantly lying. Now let's get this out here. Is this Denver mayor telling the truth? If he's telling the truth, then give me a thumbs up. If he's not telling the truth, then give me a thumbs down. Man, if honestly, we're at this point here where when people present themselves on the media, man, we're going to start needing people to be under oath as they present themselves in the media. Because this is ridiculous. Like, man, it's getting to the point where the lies are outrageous. You know what I'm saying? Like, these lies are outrageous. Come on. Stop it, bruh.
That have arrived in Denver. And it's important to understand these stories. I mean, these are folks almost all from Venezuela. They've walked 3,000 miles. It's taken probably 3 or 4 months. Many of them are women with kids. These are professionals. These are school principals and engineers. And a woman I talked to who was a police officer who, refused to tear gas people in her own country and so was threatened to be killed by her state and so fled, right? These are the definition of what the statute.
Really? Really? And you bought that story.
Liberty says on Send Us Your Huddled Masses Yearning to Breathe Free. I mean, those are the stories we see every day, and they are tragic. And at the same time, I understand Governor Abbott's point. We agree no one state or no one city should be expected to carry the entire weight of this arrival, but these are human beings with real suffering who are going through incredible feats to get here. But yes, what we have is many folks that arrive in Denver who had no intention of arriving in Denver, never meant to come to Denver. They do have family in the United States.
Oh, hold on real quick, guys. All right, here we go.
Do have networks. They have a friend who has a job for them or a place to
stay. See, they got networks. They got a value chain. These people, a lot of these migrants, and this is one of the things that's going to affect, quote unquote, that wealth gap that they were talking about. As these people come to the United States, they're coming to the United States, getting with people within their own community. And their community is not necessarily just their race. It's not necessarily just their culture, but they're getting within people with their respective community that have a pre-existing value chain, social safety net set up for these people to catch them, in addition to the social safety net and value chain that the Democrats have provided for these people. So what you're gonna see is these people are already coming in to a lot of things that we don't have in place, and then 5-10 years in the future, these people are gonna be middle class Americans owning businesses. You know what I'm saying? Using their value chain networks to bypass foundational Black Americans on the wealth side. And then they're going to be on Fox News sitting there talking about, well, we're inconvenient minorities and everybody else who's not done what we've done, well, they're just lazy. Well, they're not just lazy. But you guys are seeing this happen in real time. You guys are seeing this happen in real time. So when people go and make these arguments and say, oh, well, these people are doing this and these people are doing that, these people are getting this and these people are getting that as well. But the part about these people are getting this and these people are not getting that, that's the part that's not being talked about.
But yes, but we have as many folks that arrive in Denver who had no intention of arriving in Denver, never meant to come to Denver. They do have family in the United States. They do have networks. They have a friend who has a job for them or a place to stay. And
so then why don't they send the company car to go get them then? Send the company car to go get them. Or call one of your family members to either come pick you up or get an Uber. Or how about enforce the law? And if they're here illegally, then prosecute them and send them back. Somebody make this make sense. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, again, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. We got 57 likes and we got 56 people watching. If everybody can smash that like button and get us to 70 likes, that'd be great.
We're trying to get to a Chicago or a Los Angeles or Nevada. And so if they were sent to Denver through no goal of their own, then we help them arrive at the city where they were trying to arrive. And other cities do the same with us. We have folks that get sent to us from New York or from Chicago because they did have family networks here. And we think that's the best way to set them up for success, especially if they don't have work authorization in the city where they're arriving.
You've talked about work permits, and I want to put up something that Senator John Cornyn out of Texas has said about this. He says, when Biden tells migrants do not come to the U.S. and then creates a magnet like work permits, it undermines all deterrence. So do you agree?
So I'm going to put this tweet back up here. And I want to ask you guys if you all agree with what this individual is stating on this tweet. Now, I agree with this, right? You're sitting there saying don't come. But then you're also saying there's free health care and jobs for you here if you do come. So I want to ask you guys this question. I'm going to tell you guys, hey, don't go over to that car over there with the doors open. If you do, there's $1 million in the back seat and nobody's going to stop you from taking it. Are you going to not go to the car or are you going to go over there and get that $1 million? That's essentially what the United States is doing. Don't come here, but we have buried treasure here waiting for you. Don't go to that car, but if you do go to the car, it's a bag of $1 million unrestricted that you can get with no consequence. But don't go to that car, though. That's what the Biden administration is doing.
And then creates a magnet like work permits, it undermines all deterrence. So do you agree with those who would say the reality is millions of people will be encouraged to take dangerous, illegal journeys to the U.S. if they believe once they get here, they'll be able to work? And if you did get those permits there in Denver, are there really tens of thousands of open jobs that these folks could fill?
There are, Shannon. The tragic part for me every day is I talk to migrants who will look at me and say, Mr. Mayor, I have strong hands. I got a big back. I have a big heart. All I want to do is to work. Can I please work? And at the same time, I have CEOs who call me every day and say, we got hundreds of open jobs, restaurants, hotels, landscape.
So then why don't you there's already a homeless crisis in Denver. If that's the case, if all of this stuff is going on, then why aren't the homeless people in Denver getting access to all of this quote unquote opportunity? Why aren't they getting it first? Why are you guys not setting up your own homeless population with these opportunities? Does that make any sense? It makes sense if there's an agenda, right? And that's what we're dealing with. What we're dealing with is an agenda.
Construction, all of these industries are massively understaffed, and conservative CEOs who want to be able to hire those people. And our challenge is there's nothing more un-American than looking a hard worker in the face and saying, please, please don't work here in America. Just sit and let the government support you. That is the opposite of what these individuals want and what we want. And I don't want to be the one to tell them not to work.
But do you agree it's a magnet to draw people here when the administration will stand up and say, don't come, which the vice president...
It's amazing how these people just don't even answer the questions that they're asked. Literally nobody asked this dude right here any of what he just said. Nobody asked him any of this. But this is what he put out. This is what he said. Somebody make it make sense.
The president says repeatedly. And then when they get this message, of course, if there's an economic opportunity here, they will come regardless of their legal status when they get here.
I think it is absolutely in the purview of the Congress to figure out what they want their admission policy to be based on what we think our capacity is to support those arrivals. I can tell you we have far more open jobs right now than we have arrivals. I think, but what we know is this works if you coordinate that entry. If you have cities and states who collaborate the same way we did when we brought in refugees from Ukraine or refugees from Afghanistan, we identified cities that had capacity. We brought them in with work authorization. We gave them some federal support, and those people have succeeded tremendously. I mean, the great untold story here is the city of Chicago has more Ukrainian asylum seekers who have arrived in the last year than Venezuelans, and you couldn't.
Now, how many people knew that? If you knew that Chicago had more Ukrainian migrants than Venezuelan migrants, give me a thumbs up. If you did not know that, give me a thumbs down. Man, that's something that they kept under wraps, isn't it? That's something that they were real quiet about. Very quiet about that.
From Ukraine or refugees from Afghanistan, we identified cities that had capacity. We brought them in with work authorization. We gave them some federal support, and those people have succeeded tremendously. I mean, the great untold story here is the city of Chicago has more Ukrainian asylum seekers who have arrived in the last year than Venezuelans, and you couldn't find a single one of them if you looked in Chicago because they all have work authorization, they have jobs, they're in neighborhoods contributing because they had that infrastructure. So I'm actually hopeful that this is really a solvable problem, and I think that we can solve it. It just takes us working together to do it.
Well, you also know in Chicago, a lot of the local residents there have now begun to speak out at very heated meetings and public events saying they cannot manage this, that the city is being overwhelmed, their schools, their parks, their shelters. People are very angry with leadership there because it isn't being managed well. I know for you in Denver, you've said this could impact 10 to 15% of your budget in the next year, $180 million to try to care for people in a responsible, humane way. What do you then tell the taxpayers of Denver about what's going to get cut in order for that to happen?
I agree with you, Shannon. It is unsustainable in the current structure. When we have 30 or 40,000 people arriving without work authorization, without federal support, it is going to be a huge strain on cities. But that doesn't mean we can't solve it. We could solve it if we actually had
He said it's going to be unsustainable. He said it's going to be unsustainable. Shout out to DC Precise and Miss Nisi. Unsustainable. Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to how much backing and how many resources the government is providing these migrants. None of our families ever got this. And there's a reason why they're doing all of this, which what this means right here is that we're going to have to provide it to ourselves. We're going to have to create where we can create so much value that the amount of value that we're providing each other is greater than the amount of value that the United States government is providing the migrants. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down. Oh, absolutely. That's why I keep telling everybody, pay very close attention. We had said a while ago that what you are going to start to hear is how unsustainable this is. We were saying this. How long ago were we saying about the unsustainable thing, guys? We've been saying it for a long time. So I agree with you, Rob, 100%. Now they're going to start repeating the insustainability of this, and then they're going to say this is justification for tax increases, and the tax are going to start skyrocketing. They're going to skyrocket in California just off the basis of adding that 700,000 migrants to Medi-Cal. You know what I'm saying?
Work authorization for folks that came, if we had resources at the border so that you could adjudicate these asylum claims faster. We have folks that arrive in Denver and their court dates are 2029. It's 5 years out because the courts are so backlogged. If you could put capacity at the border to administer these asylum claims in 30 or 60 days, decide who has a valid claim, and then send them to interior cities with work authorization. Even while they're waiting to hear that claim, we could put them to work. We could solve this. And what I always say is there's a direct relationship. The more work authorization the federal government gives us, the less federal resources they give us. If you send us someone to Denver who has to wait 6 years for a court hearing and they can't work in the meantime, we're going to need almost endless amounts of federal support. I don't think that's what we want or the federal government wants.
Yeah, and yet those authorizations.
Endless amounts of federal support. Now, mind you, again, getting these people these work permits and getting these people these work authorizations and all of this nonsense that they keep talking about, none of that is going to help with the capacity issue as far as square footage and people's families taking up space in these cities. That doesn't help with that. Okay. So now Greasing says Chicago has not been very well prepared. They have tried, he said. There was a big encampment at Brighton Park that was supposed to house 2,000 people in Chicago. Though it'd be intense, it's during the middle of a Chicago winter. Oak Park has offered to house some people, but many in the suburbs have said, hey, keep this problem inside the city limits of Chicago. They're not having it in the suburbs. Okay? They're not having it in the suburbs. I want to show you guys this article from Market Watch. Okay? Chicago and New York suburbs craft strategies as Texas Governor Abbott continues to ship migrants north. Now, we talked about this. We said that this would happen. We said that this would happen. What we said was that the suburbs will lock out and block out migrants. They will lock them out and block them out to make sure that they keep them in the city so that they're not accessing or taking away resources from the people in the suburbs. And then we said, well, then we have to ask ourselves the question, why is it that the people in Chicago are not capable of coming up with these type of strategies to lock out and block out migrants? And my thing is because when it comes to the suburb, you're dealing with violent people who are already always on the offensive. So what I'm saying is that people need to start being on the offensive. You got to be on the offensive. You can't be on the defensive and wonder why stuff is happening if you're not active in moving and making efforts to stop those things from happening. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says in Edison, New Jersey, which we saw a video about Edison, New Jersey earlier, the mayor warned that he would send people back to the border if they came to his city in buses. In Rockford, Illinois, authorities said 355 migrants who landed on a charter flight will not be staying. No migrant buses this exit, signed along Interstate 55 in Grundy County, Illinois, southwest of Chicago, said ahead of Christmas weekend. On edge officials in suburbs and outlying cities near Chicago and New York are giving migrants arriving from the southern border a cold shoulder amid attempts to circumvent restrictions on buses in these two cities, opening a new front in response to efforts led by Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott to pay for migrants to leave his state. Yeah, I saw that, Sean. I actually did a video, or we talked about that on part of a live stream. Facts. Yep, that absolutely happened. A plane carrying 355 migrants from San Antonio landed at Chicago Rockford International Airport, some 85 miles from downtown Chicago, at 1 a.m. on New Year's Eve. Okay. For months, big city Democratic mayors, including Eric Adams of New York, Brandon Johnson of Chicago, have pleaded with the Biden administration for help in addressing the influx. Okay. Abbott has bused more than 80,000 migrants from Texas to Democrat-led cities since 2022. Though some buses have also arrived from other states, Abbott's administration also began chartering planes as Chicago and New York began thwarting his buses, some through fines and tickets for unscheduled drop-offs. All right. So now let's check this out.
First, the suburban migrant bus battle goes into overdrive. A number of towns set to vote on new rules tonight, and we've got the rundown.
Good afternoon. I'm Anthony Ponce.
And I'm Natalie Baumke. Thank you for joining us. In the next several hours, at least 5 more suburbs will meet to consider restrictive ordinances that aim to curb unscheduled buses arriving from Texas.
Casey Cronus is live at Ogilvie Station, which has become the final stop for many new arrivals over recent weeks. Casey.
Hi, Natalie and Anthony. Officials here in Chicago tell us they are working on implementing a more effective tracking system to help these buses and to know how many will be coming each day, because as it stands now, it seems to be a surprise. Chicago's Office of Emergency Management officials say they are expecting 1 bus from the southern border today, but that, of course, does not take into account the
Hold on, guys. If you guys haven't smashed that like button yet, while this is doing this, smash that like button.
buses that might turn up in surrounding suburbs. The list of random drop-offs and rogue buses continues to grow, along with the number of towns and villages putting measures into place to prevent buses from stopping there. Tonight, Hinsdale, Joliet, North Chicago, Buffalo Grove, and Woodstock will hold council meetings to address the situation. And as UIC professor of law Stephen Schwinn explains, regulating buses, not migrants themselves, does not violate the state's sanctuary laws.
This doesn't really have anything to do with sanctuary.
So those sanctuary laws are a big problem. And the government of Chicago has bypassed the citizens to not have the vote to get that taken off the ballot. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, make sure you guys show some love, throw some flames in the chat for the new subscriber. Definitely appreciate it.
City laws or sanctuary laws in general, they really are two entirely different things. If they're going to accept immigrants that have been bused from states like Texas, for example, that they want to do it in a kind of orderly way. And so they don't want these buses to come sort of willy-nilly at different times, randomly, without notice, dropping people off in cold temperatures without appropriate clothing or medical attention or food, not even knowing if they're in Chicago or not, and then expecting them to find their way to Chicago.
Stop with this nonsense. So I don't know why they keep acting like they keep saying this stuff about these people don't know where they at. You navigated through a jungle to get to the United States. You can navigate through a city with signs, with signs, freeway signs that say east and west, north and south. Like, come on, man. Like, stop with this nonsense.
Without appropriate clothing or medical attention or food, not even knowing if they're in Chicago or not, and then expecting them to find their way to Chicago.
Schwinn also adds that while migrants should report to the city's landing zone when they first arrive to be directed to resources like housing and clothing, they don't have to. As we reported last week, several migrants who got to Ogilvy on trains, they had relatives pick them up who were already living here. We'll have much more.
So now, again, my question is, how come there's no punishment for American citizens who coordinate with their relatives to help bring them to the country undocumented? Why is there no punishment for that?
More on that coming up at 5. Reporting live from Ogilvy, Casey Cronis, Fox 32, Chicago.
And the growing immigration crisis shows no signs of letting up in the new year. The numbers at the southern...
No signs of letting up in the new year, guys. We got content for a whole nother year. We got content for a whole nother year. They say that there's no signs of this letting up.
And the growing immigration crisis shows no signs of letting up in the new year. The numbers at the southern border have been staggering in recent weeks. More than 300,000 so-called migrant encounters since the 1st of December. And that is the equivalent of the population of Pittsburgh streaming across the border. Republicans are accusing President Biden of not doing enough. He wants more.
They got city-sized migrant mobs at the border crossing. City-sized migrant mobs. That lady just sat up there and said that the amount of migrants crossing the border every day is equivalent to the size of Pittsburgh, population-wise.
Border funding, and there's a growing bipartisan chorus in Congress now calling for action.
Believe most of America believes in legal immigration, but what we're seeing is not that. This is chaos.
It's the pull factor. You got to have detention and deportation.
On Capitol Hill, border funding is being tied to aid for Israel and Ukraine. Mexican leaders will visit Washington this month to meet with the Biden administration and continue discussions on curbing the influx of migration into the U.S. But a date for this meeting has not yet been made public.
It hasn't been made public because they're probably not going to have a meeting about this. You know what I'm saying? A plane carrying 355 migrants from San Antonio landed at Chicago Rockford International Airport at 1 a.m. on New Year's Eve, with local officials saying none left the airport, which lies some 85 miles from downtown Chicago, before boarding buses. The city of Chicago said migrants on the Boeing 777 boarded 8 buses chartered by Abbott to be dropped off in quote-unquote various suburbs. A flight in earlier December brought 120 migrants to Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. Some Chicago suburbs have adopted or are considering regulations on buses. Tinley Park's ordinance vows to cite impound or take other appropriate measures against buses that make unannounced stops in a town of about 60,000 people. The village of Broadview, a suburb of 8,000 residents west of Chicago, said last week that it had to take action because of the unloading of passengers in inclement or severe weather without a coordinated plan poses significant threats to the health, safety, and welfare of the people aboard the buses. And also, you know, we don't want them here. Right? Also, we don't want them here. According, you know, that's what they're essentially saying. In New Jersey, migrants are being dropped off at train stations in Jersey City, Secaucus, and Trenton, according to state officials. Democratic Governor Philip Murphy's office has said the state is primarily being used as a transit point, and that nearly all migrants are headed to New York. Murphy's office said the state is working with federal and local authorities, but didn't provide further details. Now, Mexico acts as a transit country, and people are not happy with what Mexico is doing. So now, if these states really don't want this stuff happening, they got to stop acting like transit places. Murphy said last summer that New Jersey couldn't support the arrivals amid discussion that the Biden administration was considering using Atlantic City Airport as a possible destination. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Somebody make that make sense. It was a change of tune for Murphy, a self-styled progressive who first ran for governor in 2017 and suggested he would declare New Jersey a quote-unquote sanctuary state, a loose term for a place with immigrant-friendly policies over which Democrat-led cities have been pillarized by Republicans and aligned media outlets. Trenton Mayor Reed Guskira said most migrants who arrived in his city have moved on to New York, but 10 people have stayed with family in the area. We empathize when someone is trying to seek asylum or when someone is trying to take them in, but we don't have the capacity to take them in. What's that mean? We don't have the capacity to take them in. That's not good. Edison Mayor Sam Josie said in a Facebook post that he has instructed our law enforcement and emergency management departments to charter a bus to transport the illegal migrants right back to the southern Texas border. The mayors of New York and Chicago have blamed Abbott. This is a diabolical plan by this governor, and we're going to have to respond based on what he's doing, Adams said on Tuesday. Now, here goes my question. Are they actually responding to what Abbott is doing? If you ask me, these are not responses to what Governor Abbott is doing. These aren't responses to that. Hours after the flight landed in Rockford, Johnson told CBS Face the Nation that Abbott is determined to continue to sow seeds of chaos by having people arrive in the middle of the night with no notice. Abbott has defended his tactics by saying President Joe Biden needs to do more to secure the border. Grundy County Sheriff Ken Briley said the highway signs south of Chicago were part of an emergency effort to avoid people being dropped off outside in the cold with no money, food, or winter clothes during the holiday weekend. No buses have stopped in the county, and the signs have since been removed, Briley said. About 30 migrants from Venezuela were recently dropped off at 4:30 a.m. at a gas station in Kankakee County, according to Sheriff Mike Downey. The people were left without money, food, adequate clothing, and were under the impression that they had reached their destination. I don't think this problem is going to stop, said Briley. We're a rural community. We just don't have the same kind of tax base that the city of Chicago does to provide those resources. Now, that's interesting, right? He says that they don't have the kind of money that Chicago has. But as you guys can see, the Chicago school system and the Chicago public facilities are in disarray. So now it's interesting, right? Where's the money at? Somebody make it make sense. Make that make sense. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the African migrants that people are freaking out about. There's a news article, a clip from Fox. And now we all know that the groups of men are not just coming from Africa, but Fox wants all of their white subscribers to be fearful and to know that there's groups of men coming in from Africa. But now, mind you, when they talk about any of the other groups of men that are coming in, because we know that there's massive amounts of groups of men coming in, they don't specify where they're from. So I want you guys to pay very close attention to this.
Is getting too loud, apparently, for the White House to ignore. The House Speaker is warning the Biden border crisis is far past its breaking point. Lawmakers witnessing illegal immigrants crossing into the country, flowing in as they visited Eagle Pass, Texas. Some of us, myself included, have been saying this for 2 years. House Speaker Johnson leading the largest border delegation to date. More than 60, all Republicans, getting an up-close look at the border crisis. Johnson and his fellow Republicans tore into the Biden administration.
Under President Biden, America has laid out a welcome mat to illegal immigrants, smugglers, and cartels. He is responsible for the grave threat to our national security.
The American people are absolutely sick of the policies that they've seen.
Now is the time to make sure America is safe, and we do that by taking a down payment on border security in 24.
Last month, record month, 300,000 illegal migrants come into the country. The pace of the Biden administration in his term as president will reach 12 million when they're done.
The policies of Mayorkas are being used by the cartels to exploit the American people and make billions of dollars. Accountability is coming, I promise.
Well, there it is. House Republicans vowing accountability for Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They plan to hold their first impeachment hearing now. That date has been set, and are looking into impeaching him by next week. Mayorkas and the White House have dismissed this tidal wave of criticism.
Doing this intentionally and that you're a liar, your reaction?
I don't have time for words like that. We are focused here on solutions.
The president has confidence in the secretary. What they're doing, the House Republicans are doing with this impeachment inquiry is baseless. We believe that it's a political stunt. We have House Republicans that's literally blocking the president's effort to do something. That's what they're doing. They're playing political games.
Can't even believe she says that with a straight face. In focus, Congressman Andy Biggs, Republican of Arizona and co-chair of the Border Security Caucus. And yes, he was there yesterday with that very large group of Republicans. We'll get to him in a moment. Let's begin with Bill Malugin in Eagle Pass, Texas. Bill.
Harris, good morning to you. When those Republicans were here in Eagle Pass yesterday, they said they got a briefing from Border Patrol, and we're told that the cartel across the river from us is making $32 million per week just here in the Eagle Pass area based off their human smuggling, which is going on all along the southern border. Take a look at this video our team shot in Arizona late yesterday afternoon. This is that Lukeville area we've been reporting from the last few weeks. More men from all around the world crossing illegally, large numbers of men from Africa, countries like Liberia, Mali, Senegal, Guinea, others crossing later in the day, more of a mixture of family units, some women from Ecuador, Brazil, some of those other countries. But we also encountered a man from Guinea who was on the other side of the border wall and was just begging Border Patrol to please let him into the U.S. He also, for some reason, had a New York State ID card in his hand. Take a listen to this exchange.
Please, 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 my brother, please don't let me here. Please, may Allah help you.
So you see it there. That's that New York State ID card he's holding in his hand there. We don't know much about it, if it's his or somebody else's, if it's real or fake, how he has it, why he has it. All we know is that man did later successfully cross illegally into the Lukeville area. Our Border Patrol contacts telling us that. But he was one of several men waiting near a breach in the border wall. You can see the cut in the beam right there, who were hoping to be able to go through that open.
Man, my question for everybody watching this is, what kind of stuff is this? What kind of what we got going on here, man? What is this? What is going on here? Look at this.
He also, for some reason, had a New York State ID card in his hand. Take a listen to this exchange.
Please, 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 my brother, please don't let me here. Please, may Allah help you.
So you see it there. That's that New York State ID card he's holding in his hand there. We don't know much about it, if it's his or somebody else's, if it's real or fake, how he has it, why he has it. All we know is that man did later successfully cross illegally into the Lukeville area. Our Border Patrol contacts telling us that. But he was one of several men waiting near a breach in the border wall. You can see the cut in the beam right there, who were hoping to be able to go through that open breach. And back
again, so somebody make this make sense. This is stupid. If you guys agree that this is stupid, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Out here live. Look, Republicans have been talking for a long time about the threat of impeaching Secretary Mayorkas. Well, next week, as you mentioned earlier in your show, Harris, they're going to have their very first official impeachment inquiry hearing. That is going to be set for January 10th. That is going to be the first step towards a potential markup and eventually maybe a House floor vote in terms of finally impeaching Secretary Mayorkas. We'll see how it all plays out. We'll send it back to you.
Bill Malushin, thank you very much. Very startling to hear that man beg to be let in, and then, of course, he just came on in on his own illegally. I mean, you wonder how many times a minute that's happening. Thank you. In focus now, Republican Congressman Andy Biggs of Arizona, co-chair of the Border Security Caucus, member of the House Judiciary and Oversight Committees. And Congressman Biggs, again, was with a large group of Republicans at the border. I know you went previously on another delegation. What can you tell me about what's happening there and why the president now has his eyes on all of you?
Well, so what's happening on the border is it's worse than it's ever been, Harris. As you know, more than 300,000 encounters last month, but that doesn't include the gotaways and known gotaways. So it's worse than ever. And over the last 2 days, I took a separate group the day before so we could get a separate view, what I call a non-sanitized view, non-regime, non-Biden administration view. And it is so bad. And the people we talk to health administrators, we talk to first responders, we talk to the local ranchers and business people, and I talked to the Texas border czar. So we were there, and I will tell you that it continues to get worse. And we are actually facilitating this. The administration is facilitating the logistic arms of transporting people from the cartels importing into the United States or exporting to the United States. We are facilitating that. And we actually met with the Inspector General for the DHS last night, and more than 75%, his audit showed more than 75% of these people, Harris, of the 8 million or so that have come in under Joe Biden, we have no idea where they are. They are totally unaccountable to any U.S. authority.
That is a huge number. So what you're saying is as they come here into this, and I'm in New York, so you know it's a sanctuary city here, but as they come in and they try to get to other places, you're saying as they fan out, even once they've come illegally, we have no idea where they are. And so that got-away number may be those that we didn't identify, but they're all getting away.
Yeah, that's right.
Or at least 75% of them.
Yeah, 75%. But most of the people that come in, we have to take them on their word because there is no way to vet them.
But if they come here and commit a crime against this nation by entering illegally, why in the world would we take them at their word, those who choose not to go through the checkpoints?
No, I'm with you 100%. And this administration won't do even, for instance, DNA testing of people under the age of 14. Why? Just think of the human trafficking, child trafficking that we've seen. Think of the special benefits that we give to these family units. We have concocted, made up family units coming in, and we want to do the DNA testing to see, are you related to them? And then we're going to release them. They are instead of stopping them at the border, Harris, or turning them away.
Did you hear what he said as far as concocted? family units? What are concocted family units? Seriously. What are concocted family units? I don't know what a concocted family unit is. Do you all know what a concocted family unit is? What is that? Somebody make that make sense.
This administration has said we're going to not only facilitate their entry, we're going to facilitate their distribution throughout the United States, and we're not going to keep track of them.
Look, I'm sure you're seeing the numbers, just eye-popping numbers of how much money the cartels are making by the day, by the individual. We are now just almost like the agents for the cartel.
That's right. No, you're exactly right. That's what I mean when I say the logistical arm. They come in. When I was in Luke.
So now, do you guys remember a couple streams ago when I was talking about the cartel and asking the question why the mainstream media is not talking about the cartel? You guys recall that? If you guys recall that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't recall that, give me a thumbs down. Now they're talking about the cartel.
2 weeks ago, we saw people just like Bill was showing you in his report. In fact, Bill was down there with me. But you asked them, where are you going? Because we would ask as many people as we could, where are you going? And they would pull out a laminated card with phone numbers and addresses throughout the country. This is well organized. This is not happenstance. This is by design.
Yeah. President Biden's Justice Department is suing, as you know, the state of Texas over its new border security law. And the bill would allow state authorities to arrest certain illegal immigrants and potentially give state judges the power to deport them. The lawsuit comes the very same week the DOJ filed for the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene over the state's use of razor wire to protect its border, to keep the people illegally from just flowing into Texas. Former acting ICE director Tom Homan with this.
I think in the end, Texas will lose a lawsuit, and it's a shame because Texas is simply trying to protect their state and their residents, and the federal government has abdicated their responsibility. They are not doing anything to secure the border.
Just real rapid fire. First of all, he said he thinks that Texas is going to lose this lawsuit. Do you think that?
I think they have a chance to win. It's an uphill climb, but the point he made is the legal point. Has the federal government vacated the field in this area? And I think they vacated it a long time ago. That gives them an opportunity to use Article 4, Section 4 protection for the state.
Ah, okay. Of course it would. Nobody's really talking about that very much, though. And when you say vacating their responsibility, you and I have seen this for years now. It's not breaking news. All right, I said rapid fire. Let's quickly get to this next thing. Is Mayorkas just a figurehead? Like, how do you really get to the heart of this? Do you impeach the guy whose face is on Biden's border crisis, or can you go deeper?
Well, you have to start with Mayorkas. He is not just a figurehead. These policies, he has concocted, he has enforced these policies, and he is refusing to actually enforce the laws of Title VIII, which would give us some relief along the border. I think he's certainly abdicated his responsibility and duty. He should be impeached.
Congressman Biggs, thank you. I can hear the level of frustration in your voice. We talk enough. I recognize that. This is really a critical point. I hope we get it right for America. Thank you.
I don't think they're going to get it right. I don't think they're going to get it right at all. How many people think that they're going to get it right? Shout out to Michael R. What's good with it, bro? All right, so now next what we're going to do is we're going to check out these quote-unquote pseudo-legitimate Senegalese travel agencies that are helping people migrate to the United States. How many people heard of this? If you guys have heard of this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys have not heard of this, give me a thumbs down. Pseudo-legitimate Senegalese travel agencies offering complete packages for migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. So they're scamming. People are falling for it. So let's check out what they're talking about.
What they're telling the American people and what actually is happening on the ground are two different stories, and you're hearing it from the migrants themselves.
So that gentleman right there has been on top of the issue from the beginning. Now a live look at Lukeville, Arizona. A new surge of illegal crossings, smashing records at the border yet again. We recorded more than 12,000 encounters in a single day this week, and our cameras were capturing long lines of mostly adult men from all over the world, slipping through breaks in the fence.
Now, mind you, as you guys see here, adult men from all over the world. But I want you guys to recall how just a couple seconds ago, they were claiming that it was mainly Africans. Last time I checked, Africa wasn't all over the world.
Led there by smugglers. And Bill Malusian's been there all week. He's live again in Lukeville, Arizona. Has much changed today, or is it the same pattern so far? Bill, good morning.
Same pattern, Bill. Good morning to you. It's been a wild week down here in Lukeville. Border Patrol needs a lot of help. Every time they fix a hole in the border wall, smugglers cut it elsewhere, and there are more mass illegal crossings. You mentioned those single adult men crossing. Take a look behind us. These guys all waiting for processing, coming in from all over the world. See if we can talk to a few of them real quick. Sir, where are you from? What country?
India,
India. Where do you want to go in the United States?
California.
California? What city?
No.
You don't know yet? And why'd you decide to come? You want to work?
Work, yeah.
Work? Gotcha. Sir, where are you from?
Me, I'm from Senegal.
Senegal.
Yeah.
You want to go to New York?
Yeah, I want to go there
And why'd you come to the United States?
because it's the peace country and it's the democracy also.
You guys see this? If you guys see this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys do not see this, then give me a thumbs down. And no, Sean's not a China bot. So there's that.
That's why we want to be here to continue what we are planning our life, because we see so many people who is here, and the life is very great.
Did you pay anybody to come here? Any smugglers?
No, I was trying myself because I was work hard and the things is very hard.
Do you think that these people are going to answer these questions of if they paid a smuggler or not? You guys think that? They're not going to answer that question. They're not going to answer that question.
It's very great.
Carol said it. Look, Sean, you are a China bot. Replacement migration. Yeah, that's interesting, Carol. Who do you think that they're replacing? Let me ask you guys this question. Who did the European migrants replace when they came here in the 15, 16, and 1700s? Or did they just happen to come to a vacant United States? The global elites. That's it. That's interesting. Name the global elites. Let's talk about who these global elites are. Let's get down to it. Who are the global elites? Because they're not technically global elites. They're European elites. And Europe, contrary to popular belief, does not take up the entire globe. So what European elites are we talking about here? And my question is, why do people call them the quote unquote global elites when they're confined to one group of people. They're not global. So this is the interesting thing, right? And I want people to pay very close attention to this. When you get down to the nitty-gritty and you start asking these kind of questions, this is when people will stop being cooperative with the conversation, because they know that that group of quote unquote global European elites, that's who's responsible for all the societal privilege that they have. And what they're really upset about is that their privilege is shrinking. And so because their privilege is shrinking, everybody's supposed to get upset about it for the same reason that they're upset about it. In the words of Stephen A. Smith, we don't care. You know what I'm saying? We don't care.
Did you pay anybody to come here? Any smugglers?
No, I was trying myself because I was work hard and the things is very hard to me. I struggling so much. Then I do my best to see here in America is so much democracy we see all over in the world.
Okay,
That's
so,
why we
so here for opportunity.
Carol, name the global elites. Who are the global elites? Put names on them. Who are these people? Who are these organizations? Who owns these organizations? Where are these organizations located? Let's ask an even more direct question. Are the quote unquote global elites part of the white community? And you guys can feel free to answer these questions as well. The World Economic Forum, Davos, Sweden. Well, there you go. There you go. Now, Sweden is in Europe, last time I checked. So, and who runs that organization? So now, again, my question goes back to, who are we replacing? Who's allegedly getting quote unquote replaced? I don't know. When you say America, what Americans? Because most of the people that you're calling Americans are immigrants. So who are they replacing? Because there was already a wave of American immigrants that replaced the people that were already here. So now there's another group of replacements replacing the replacements, according to you. So what Americans are being replaced? And how are they being replaced? How can people who have fertility clinics be being replaced? That's my question. You got one group of people in the United States that gets fertility clinics. Then you got another group of people that the people that own the fertility clinics put abortion clinics where those people are. So how can the fertility clinic people be getting replaced is my question. Let's start there. Can we really say that people that have fertility clinics are getting replaced. Can we really say that? I'm just saying. Just, you know what I'm saying? Let's do this. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Democracy, that sort of a thing. Anybody else here from Senegal? Senegal? Got a few hands raised up. Where in the United States do you guys want to go to? What cities? New York? New York? Michigan. Where in Michigan?
For meet my big brother.
For your brother. Your brother's in the U.S.?
Yeah, my big brother.
Sir, where do you want to go? No English. Okay. Español aquí? The Dominican. ¿Y a dónde vas en los Estados Unidos?
A Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay, so you get a flavor right there of some of the places these folks want to go. We want to show you.
You see how the news guy turned on his inner immigrant. So I want you guys to pay very close attention, right? As you guys can see, when confronted directly with the direct questions, they're not trying to have that conversation. And the reason why they're not trying to have that conversation when confronted with the direct information, the direct questions, is because they have to attempt to do whatever they possibly can to maintain control. And they know that once too many facts start getting dropped, they lose control. Like this. Would it be what community are those people that you're talking about a part of? What community is Joe Biden a part of? So once you get down to the particle level, this is what you get. So now let me ask you guys this question. Again, I prove my point of what's the point of attempting to have any kind of dialogue? The only kind of dialogue that we should ever have is action and doing what we need to do and bypassing any conversations with other groups of people that prove themselves time and time again. They're not capable of conversation. They're not capable of honesty. They have no desire for those things. The reason why they don't have any desire for those things is because those things threaten their power. Which the power should always be threatened. Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to how all the direct questions literally have been sidestepped. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of this. Not answering a question is actually answering a question. It's the same way inaction is an action. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a thumbs up. If it doesn't make any sense, then give me a thumbs down.
Some video we shot late yesterday afternoon before sunset. We talk about those wall breaches. Take a look at this. There was another cut in the border wall here in Lukeville. You'll see on the right side of your screen, illegal immigrants pouring in through the breach in that wall. Hundreds of them end up coming through. Border Patrol overwhelmed in the area. You'll see them start walking down the border road, waiting to be processed, looking for Border Patrol to turn themselves in. This sort of thing happens every single day out here. A lot of African men, families from Ecuador and Mexico as well. And we'll show you what happened once they got past that border wall area.
A lot of quote unquote African men. America has been under attack. America was under attack when the Mayflower came over here. North and South America. What's going on right now? It's no different than what happened in the 1700s. It doesn't look like the Indians lost. What it looks like is it looks like the people who came over here and stole from them are now losing and scared. And one thing that people like to do is people like to have wars with people when they never declared a war. Let me ask you, what's the name of the war that the Europeans fought against indigenous Americans, Carol? There was a war, right? So what's the name of the war? What was the war that your ancestors, when they came over here, waged against the native indigenous? Your ancestors come from prisons in Europe. Prisons that European people didn't even want. The white people of New Zealand and Australia, they weren't wanted in the United Kingdom. They were prisoners. They were fugitives, just like the people who are coming to the United States now. I got to ask you this question. Have you ever heard of karma? It comes in a lot of different flavors. And right now, what you're experiencing is the most bitter flavor of it. How's it taste? How does it taste? Because I know your taste buds ain't used to flavor. So how's it taste? How's it feel? Oh, no, I can't wake up, because if I wake up, then I'd be woke. And we know how much you people don't like woke. Bring me your best and take a seat and watch me crush them. That's what you should do. That is what you should do. You should bring me the best person that you got, that you think speaks truth to power, so you can watch them get crushed with my hands behind my back right in front of your eyes. And you can go back and tell the story about it. I care about black people. America had its opportunity for me to care for America, and it dropped the ball. You, Carol, you only care about white people. Which is why you can't answer any of my questions. You or nobody like you can answer my questions. You or nobody like you can answer my questions. Which is why you in the comment section sounding like a woke snowflake, calling everybody racist. You want to see what racism looks like? Stick around for the next 50 years. Wait till your numbers drop to under 50%. And then we can revisit the racism conversation. Now, if you really cared, what you'd be doing is making a baby right now. But you're not. And you got all the means to help make the babies. You know what I'm saying? You got worldwide propaganda that pedestalizes women like you. You got fertility clinics. There's no reason why you can't have a baby in your belly. to help what you're crying about right now. But you don't have a baby in your belly, which means that you're not helping what you're here fearful about. And if you're not helping, I'm going to have to ask you why you're so anti-white. You only have one daughter? Is that the necessary replacement? Is that the necessary replacement rate for the population decline that you're in here upset about? So was Epstein, Mike. Epstein was trying to replenish the race. Now, the more important question to ask as far as that replenishment question goes is, why can't you sustain normal replacement rates naturally? Why can't you do that? They were grooming people to be the G word back in Rome. What's your thoughts on that? Now, and also I got another question for you. You seem to be very concerned about Nazis. What's your stance on Ukraine?
Area. Take a look at this video. They got onto the local highway out here in Lukeville. This is the only road that goes in and out of Lukeville. Also goes into Mexico to go to Rocky Point. And these illegal immigrants were just walking in the middle of the highway. Thankfully, there was no cars or traffic because the port of entry has been closed down out here. But you can see what agents out here have to deal with day in and day out. And lastly, we want to show you what's happening.
Yeah, big facts. Big facts. Big facts, Denise. Carol is definitely one of them folks. She definitely one of them folks.
San Diego sector. Take a look at this wild video. Border Patrol releasing these images. Thermal video showing another wall incursion down there by San Isidro.
Oh yeah, we know. We know about the Azov Battalion. What community are the Azov Battalion a part of? Let's start there.
They say about 75 people scaled the border wall led by smugglers. You'll see them coming up and down one after another. And then eventually you'll see them all gathering. And then they go running into the United States as a large mass. The San Diego sector Border Patrol saying human smugglers are doing this sort of thing every day down there. It's dangerous for the migrants. It's dangerous for agents. But this is happening all along the southern border. And back out here live just a short time ago before we came to you guys, Border Patrol had all of these men take trash bags and pick up trash in this area. We're actually in the Oregon Pipe Cactus National Monument. That's what this area is. It has been completely trashed through illegal immigration over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Facts. I actually agree with that. Win, lose, or rug. Win, lose, or rug said them folks sounds way too cool for them. We should take a page from the history books. Those people. Facts. That's exactly what we should do. I agree. Super facts. They create, shout out to Corey. Corey said they create all the problems and then say, God help us all. Why would your God help me? You know what I'm saying? Why we anytime they say that, that's what we should be asking them. Why would your God help me?
Before these guys get processed and transported, they gave them trash bags and made them pick up as much trash as they possibly could. We'll send it back to you.
So, Bill, just a couple of questions. I don't know if there's an able to ask some of them this, but if they're coming from India and Senegal, how did they get to where they are? How did they get to South America, Latin America? And also, what have any of them said to you what their credible threat was, because that's the bar for asylum, was for them in those countries?
So for the first question, it's a good one, and we've asked them all that question. A lot of them said they've flown into South America first, either Colombia or Brazil, and then they start making their way through Central America. One guy from Senegal told us he flew into Brazil, then went to Colombia, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, then into southern Mexico, Tapachula. Then they ride the trains up or they take buses and they get up here to the northern border. So they go through a handful of countries before they get here. To your second question, we've been talking to guys out here all week long, Martha. Not a single one of them have told us they plan to claim asylum or that they have fear of their governments or fear of persecution in their home countries. Every single guy out here has told us they're here for work, for opportunity, or to link with family. And that, again, does not qualify for asylum. Asylum law is very
right. Like none of those things qualify people for asylum. Carol, you popping them perks. Oh, no, you ain't. I see what you're trying to do there. Okay, never mind. I was about to say, stop typing them Percocets with the typos, but I see what you did there. I see what you did.
strict in the United States. You have to demonstrate fear of persecution. And everybody we've talked to out here so far says they're here essentially for work and opportunity.
Bill, just one last thing. Of that, given that answer, how many will be deported?
It's hard to know, but overall, looking at the big picture, most will likely be released into the country with what's called.
Now, I'm going to ask y'all this question. Out of all these people, how many are going to get deported? How many of these people are going to get deported? Probably none of them, if you ask me.
Called an NTA, a notice to appear, and a future court date. A handful of them may get deported, but when we have guys from like Syria coming in like we did the other day, the U.S. doesn't even have diplomatic relations with some of these countries. It's not like they can call up Bashar al-Assad and have him land in Damascus airport, right? So some of these people are going to be here to stay. Some will eventually be removed, but a large majority, because of how overwhelmed Border Patrol is right now, how over capacity they are, they're doing a lot of mass releases. A lot will probably get NTAs, notice to appears, with future court dates. And sometimes those court dates are years out in advance. Yeah.
Bill, we've talked to you every day down there, same location.
All right, so there's that, right? Pseudo-legitimate Senegalese travel agencies are offering complete packages for migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. All right. Migrants are being offered, quote unquote, complete packages to the U.S. border with Mexico by pseudo-legitimate travel agencies sprouting up in Senegal, one of the places that he was just talking about, according to a U.S. Customs and Border Protection official. The travel agencies are run out of Senegal's capital city of Dakar and tout visa-free travel to Europe and then to Mexico. Once in North America, customers are connected to a smuggling organization that will help them cross the southern U.S. border illegally, according to a U.S. official. Now, my question for you guys is, how many people knew about that? How many people knew about that? If you guys knew about that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys did not know about that, then give me a thumbs down. They sell complete packages to connect them to a smuggling organization that will then facilitate their movement up to the border, the official said. Now, remember, didn't we say long time ago In one of the old school original Undocumented Bros videos, long time ago, we said that there was some type of logistics helping these people to move. You guys remember that? If you guys remember, we said that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't, if you guys don't remember, then give me a thumbs down. If you guys don't remember that, then I would advise people to go and check out those old Undocumented Bros live streams. CBP is working with partners throughout the hemisphere and around the world to really make sure that we are bolstering people's access to protections and in the right ways and taking action to prevent people from trying to exploit different travel mechanisms. The smuggling organizations have built out a large bus line in the northwestern Mexican state of Sonora, sending dozens of buses a day to random spots along the U.S.-Mexico border to facilitate migration, according to the official. Pseudo-legitimate travel agencies in Senegal are catering to people hoping to cross the U.S. southern border illegally, according to a U.S. official. These smugglers are recklessly putting migrants in harm's way in remote locations across the border, onto the tops of trains, or into the waters of the Rio Grande, acting CBP Commissioner Troy Miller said in a statement released last week. We continue to go after the smugglers and are implementing new measures to impose consequences on transportation companies, including bus and van lines used by smuggling organizations and nefarious actors to move migrants through northern Mexico and to our southwestern border, he added. CBP and our federal partners need additional funding from Congress so that we can continue to effectuate consequences for those who do not use established pathways, which they're not really giving any consequences out. Let me ask you guys this question. What are enforceable consequences that you all have seen in regards to illegal migration here in the United States? What do the consequences look like? Who's actually faced some consequences? Are there any individuals that we can name that have actually faced any consequences for any of this? Shout out to Black Spider. What's good with the Black Spider? The number of migrants from Asia and Africa crossing the southern border has tripled since last year, according to CBP data. Allison Dinner, EPA, EFE, Shutterstock. Okay, that's who took the picture. My bad. Arrests of migrants from countries such as Senegal, Mauritania, China, and India entering via Mexico ballooned to 214,000 during the 2023 fiscal year, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection data. The staggering amount was triple the number of migrant encounters from Asia and Africa in fiscal year 2022, which was 70,000, according to CBP statistics. Senegalese people accounted for more than 9,000 arrests in Tucson, Arizona from October 1st through December 9th, where agents have encountered migrants from about 4 dozen Eastern Hemisphere countries. The agency reported last week that Border Patrol agents encountered nearly 250,000 migrants at the southern border just in November, up from October's 240,986 recorded encounters. Okay. The travel agencies offer to connect would-be migrants to smuggling organizations in Mexico. Now, mind you, these are places that are of Senegalese base that are doing this. Okay. And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. If you all have not smashed that like button yet, please make sure you guys take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, make sure you guys hit the bell. We got 70 likes. If everybody could take a moment and smash that like button and get us to 90, that would be great. This will be our best stream yet on this channel. So shout out to y'all. You know what I'm saying? The travel agencies offer to connect would-be migrants to smuggling organizations in Mexico. Representative Laura Lee accused the Biden administration on Tuesday of using Border Patrol agents like travel agents rather than having them stem the flow of migrants. We have brave men and women of Border Patrol who are down there, ready and willing, who are able or who want to enforce our laws, who want to fight for our country. And instead, as you point out, they're being assigned tasks like passing out blankets and working as travel agents to bring people into the country, Lee said during an interview on Fox News. The head of the CBP noted last week that encounter levels across the southwest border are presenting a serious challenge to the men and women of CBP. To meet this challenge, we are using all available resources to ensure the safety and security of our agents and officers and the migrants who are often misled and victimized by the transnational criminal organizations, Miller said. So now this is where and how some of these African migrants are coming from. Okay. All right. So that was a lot. You know what I'm saying? That was definitely a lot. So we will definitely be back because there's definitely more to talk about. I appreciate each and every one of you all who is here. We're getting close to that 500 subs. Make sure you help us get there by sharing the stream, leaving a comment after the stream, smashing the like button, and subscribing. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. If you're not part of the Discord, hit that Discord link. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,